Welcome to the Fantasy Fangirls podcast, where two sisters dive deep into beloved fantasy lore, character themes, series, and more.
I'm Lexi, older sister and fantasy lore nerd.
And I'm Nicole, younger sister and romantic at heart.
And today is our final deep dive episode of the KINDRED'S Saga. Wow, I can't believe we're already here. Oh my goodness.
We are wrapping up this journey, at least for now, with episode 8 for Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole, where today we are covering chapters 71 through 75. In other words, the end of the book.
Before we begin this Heat episode 8, please listen closely to our spoiler warning, because we are literally talking about the end of Heat of the Everflame, which means spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
This is the end of the series that we currently have. If you clicked on this ending stretch of chapters and you haven't read the book, then you are playing with fire. Get it? Fire? Because heat, burn, undying fire. Anyway, on the small chance that you haven't read these chapters yet, then please go finish the series. We will be here when you're done.
Next, we of Fantasy Fangirls are adults who say adult things about adult books. In other words, friends, this podcast, and especially this episode, is very, very, very R-rated.
I have never meant this more than I do today. We have been edged for 2,000 pages, and today our time has finally come, literally. So please, dear God, please be mindful of those little listening ears. I am not holding back. I have waited. This is my time.
Additionally, we are so excited to see what upcoming live events. We'll be at Romantasy BookCon in Orlando, Florida, October 23rd through 25th, where we're interviewing Rebecca Yarros again at Disney World.
And on March 6th through 8th in Dallas, Texas, we will be podcast partners at Dreamers and Readers Festival. Check out our website or the links below in the show notes for discount codes to this festival and more information to all of these events.
Last thing before we jump into this Heat of the Everflame episode 8. If you love Fantasy Fangirls and want more events, more content, more community, and just so much more all around, please check out Fantasy Fan Club.
We have 3 membership tiers that you can join. Number 1, The Descended, which includes access to our Boppin' Discord, live Q&As from Lexi and myself, a book club, exclusive author interviews, community events like trivia, promo codes for live events, plus exclusive designs and 20% off all merch. Yes, that includes our 2-year anniversary edition merch. That is all for $6 a month. Or you can join the Royal Family, which includes everything from the Descended level, plus early access to ad-free episodes, our full episode outlines, and special voting privileges. That is for $10 a month. And last but not least, we have our Crowns Council. Oh, I'm going to miss saying these names, which includes everything from the previous 2 tiers. Plus, more behind-the-scenes content, a welcome gift, giveaways, a private Discord channel, and your name shouted out on the podcast. That is for $25 a month.
Join the party at fantasyfangirls.com/fan club. The link is also in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for supporting us here at Fantasy Fangirls. Today, as we record, it is our 2-year birthday, and it just means everything what has happened these last 2 years. And it is all because of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And now, it is time for Diem to die. Maybe. Debatable.
To start off every episode, Nicole does us the honor of summarizing this stretch of chapters. So for the last time, let's gather round as we consult with our royal advisors to discuss what happens in chapters 71 through 75 of Heat of the Everflame.
Chapter 71, under the sea, everything's better, down where it's wetter, take it from me. Luther and Diem step into the showers of my dreams, and it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. They're touching, they're flirting, they're soaping each other up, and nothing. I shall suffer a little while longer. Chapter 72. It is time to go to the library. But first, Diem is blindfolded and walking through the halls of students. And as things are heating up and getting a little spicy, Diem is not all that mad about it. Let him watch. Oh, wait, there's no one here. Once inside the library, Luther leads Diem to a super secret crowns only section. And after a very sus moment with the Everflame tree lighting up and telling her that balance is the only way to go, Diem decided to say, screw the banned mortal books, weird name for Luther, because it is time. Da 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 da-da-dee-da-da-dee-da. Bang, bang, bangity bang. I said, we waited 2,000 pages for this. Bang! Chapter 73. Who needs to eat when there's Luther? I mean, books to read. Plucking Diem away from her books, Luther carves an apple when Diem casually mentions that maybe, just maybe, they would have a nice big house together that they can grow into as a family. Luther totally accidentally slips, cutting himself in the heart from the apple. Don't worry, we will be talking about this in depth this episode. But Doral chooses this moment to have the Sophos guards escort Diem to her doom. I mean, the docks. Who am I kidding? It's actually to her doom. And to top it all off, Luther has to stay behind. We'll see about that. But wait, there's more, because as they leave the island, Diem and Doral make a bonded bargain. Nothing bad ever comes from those, right? Chapter 74. With all the crowns gathered on the island, it's time to start the forging ritual, right? Right? Wrong. Diem lays out all the reasons for them to pardon not only her, but also her guardian leading mother, and how that will be the only way they can win this war against Ophiuchi. It's time to cast their votes, but it's not looking good. Even the mentor Yrselle feels like Diem doesn't deserve her vote. Insert evil villain laugh here. Wahaha! Because Doral goes off on their evil villain monologue with their plan for Diem to be magicless and Ophiuchi to be dead. It's a win-win. But Yrselle says, hold my beer. I vote in Diem's favor. Although the Ignios king has other plans, and he stabs Yrselle with Godstone, giving Diem one more crown. Well, technically two once he finally passes. Thanks for the coronation gift, Yrselle. Chapter 75. Once Ignios is done throwing a tantrum about Yrselle scratching him with Godstone, Doral informs him that they have a cure. What they don't know is that the cure is Diem, the woman they're about to lock up on this island. With Diem still not stepping in line, Doral brings out their plan B, evil villain monologue. They will lock up Diem on the island and make sure everyone on Kareel other than the crowns will be dead by sunset, which is in like 45 seconds. And they know just the thing that will get Diem to behave. Tell her. Not willing to risk her little brother's life, Diem agrees to the ritual and cue everyone running away for safety. But not everyone is running away because Teller, Luther, and Perth are running to save Diem. But oh no! They have no way to escape. Just kidding. Enter stage left, a very conveniently arriving Gryber Sarai who scoops up the three men, but Luther is slipping. Knowing Teller can't save them both, Perth sacrifices himself for Luther. Perth, it has been our honor. As Diem watches her family fly away to safety, she vows to find a way off the island and make her way to Luther. Suddenly, a Godstone sword is sticking out of her chest, and the last thing she sees is the King of Ignios laughing maniacally, just like Penn Cole when she was writing this, probably. End of book!
It is time to reach for our foraging magic and unravel key insights, character analysis, lore, foreshadowing, so many theories, and just so much more all around. After all the stress from the last stretch of chapters, well, honestly, this whole book, Diem and Luther deserve a break and a private moment in the form of a shower. Oh my goodness, this would be the best shower of all time, washing off all the travel from the past few days, and of course all the blood from the battle, and it's Diem's first shower ever. Because showers are a Sophos invention, and remember that they keep their inventions within the realm unless they are coronation gifts. And these showers are absolutely glorious. The glass doors open into a small nook lined with colored tiles and a water-filled ceiling that makes it feel like you're under the ocean. And then the tile lights up from behind somehow, casting the shower in a rainbow glow that moves with the flow of the water. With a rainfall shower head and instantly hot water, I would never leave the shower. Like, oh my goodness.
Never want to leave Sophos. I want to live there. I want to be Sophos native. This is my dream. I would find a way to work from the shower. What does one Luther Corbois want to do in these showers, though? He wants to watch. So, with Diem under the water's stream, enjoying the feeling of thousands of droplets cleaning away the attack and soothing her muscles, she allows for her hands to wander over her body. While Luther enjoys the view so much, he's reduced to single-syllable answers, and he touches himself too. Now, you might be wondering, as I was when I read the scene for the first time, us readers, we are white-knuckling and just on the brink of oblivion screaming, fuck already! But this is one of the 20,000 reasons I love this stretch of chapters. Yes, it is another instance of them almost getting together, but not quite, since Luther does not have the contraceptive tonic yet. I get it. But this is also masterful from Penn Cole's perspective. She understands the art of the warm-up, of the foreplay, and that is what this scene is. It is pure foreplay. It's Luther telling her to touch herself the way she wants him to touch her. It's him splaying her out, telling her to put her hands on the tile and that she's a good girl. I am screaming. Lexi, you have put your hands on the headboard. I have put your hands on the tile, good girl. I've waited almost 2,000 pages for these two to do the horizontal hanky-panky. And while, yes, we have to wait just a moment longer, this is the perfect warm-up for the library in just a few pages.
I also love how this is a scene for them to take care of each other in such an intimate way, expressing their love for one another and healing each other's souls without it needing to lead to sex. Luther ensuring Diem's soul is calm and her body is ready for whatever the kindred throw at her next. And Diem tending to Luther, kissing his scars and washing his hair. I love this trope so much. Just showing him that all of him is deserving of love. Like, this is such a beautiful, intimate moment, and I love it.
One of my favorite things about this scene is the ultimate patience of Luther, yes, of course, but just how happy he is in this scene. There's a line from Diem's inner monologue, quote, "A happiness untouched by war and loss, unfettered by obligation or restraint. The cold, hardened mask of the prince wasn't just lowered, it was as if it never existed at all." Ugh, these two are about to go their separate ways for over a month against their own will. They deserve to be the happiest, and they deserve the best 2-chapter-long sex scene ever.
I also appreciate how this scene becomes an empowering moment for Diem, not just because she has Luther at her mercy by simply watching her, but like she reflects in her inner monologue, for a long time after becoming descended, she felt like a stranger in someone else's skin. When she thought she was immortal, she had swagger and confidence, and then when she became a descended queen, she felt so out of her element, both in her surroundings and inwardly for herself. Our girl has come so far since that as she discovers what she is capable of. She's building confidence in her ability to lead and accepts who and what she is. This shower scene as she puts on a show for Luther is her embracing her new body, this identity, and feeling comfortable and sexy in it. Not because it's a mask like it was throughout Glow, but because now she does feel confident and capable and she wants to show it off, right? And I just love that so much for her and that it truly comes out in this moment with Luther. With this steamy shower moment over, Luther has a surprise in store for Diem that he is just positively giddy about. And then Stuart spills the beans about the surprise. We're finally going to the Library of Sophos. Nicole and I are both so happy for very different reasons. During the attack, the library roof took damage from Dragonfire, so the building is closed until it is deemed safe again. Luther and Diem are technically here to be the ones responsible for fixing the roof and ensuring this library stays safe in the meantime. But until the morning, they have free reign of the library, and oh boy, do they. Remember that Doral requested 2 days to do some research and to get the crowns to meet on the island of Kareel. So this first 24 hours, Luther and Diem get to spend their time in the library. Little do they know that this is a distraction, as Doral makes quite extensive plans against Diem. Weaving their way through empty bookshelves and hallways, this duo enters a small rotunda with the label Crown Access Only. Inside this room is a single door cast from solid bronze, and guess what? This door takes the form of an enormous tree. It stretches from floor to ceiling with thick metal roots tangling into steps at its base, and jagged branches spread wide across the dome roof. And in this gigantic bronze tree, there are thousands of glittering red and yellow gemstones that faintly pulse with a subtle glow. Yes, we have another Everflame description. I can't sit in my seat still right now. But friends, this Everflame is different from the other depictions we've already seen in this book. According to Luther, the mortals who built this place claimed that it is lit with the embers from the undying fire gifted by the old gods. I mean, we've got faintly pulsing gemstones that I bet make this metal door look aglow and alive. I have such a clear image in my head, and I am so obsessed with it. Luther goes on to say, it's nice to imagine some part of the Everflame survived its destruction, and it's a place where respect can still be given. Yes! Yes, it is nice to imagine that some part of the Everflame survived, and it is literally in this bronze tree here. Holy shit, this feels so huge.
We need to talk about this.
Yes, we do!
Because as Luther says, quote, why can't there be balance in regards to both the mortals and the descended coexisting along with the kindred and the old gods coexisting, aka the Everflame and the kindred existing at once. End quote. This is in italics and bolded. That means it gives me a heart attack, but it also means it's super duper important. Quote, balance. The word echoed in my ear in a voice both foreign and ancient, too quick to place, but distinctly familiar. Oh, I have chills. Okay, so I want to focus on the second part of this quote first. Both foreign and ancient. So ancient has been referred to multiple times within this book as both the ancient fate and the words of the mortal religion. So for example, the ancient fate, the rite of endings words. But it's also referred to in that same ancient voice as the kindred voice when it comes through Diem.
Yep, there's that ancient voice again. Ancient voices, specifically voices, are always associated with the kindred so far in the series.
But there's both of these instances where it's referred to both mortal religion and also the kindred. So it's again, balance. It's right there on the page with the word ancient. Then there's foreign. Foreign, however, has been used in one very distinct instance. From last episode's Sophos battle, quote, the language foreign, but the message clear. Fight. And at that episode, we assumed that this foreign language was the language of the kindred homeworld, aka the one that's on the sword, aka everything that we've been freaking out about for like a million episodes. So what if in this moment, the word balance is actually being spoken in the kindred homeworld language with that kindred speaking through her moment? And the reason it goes away so quickly and goes back to Diem not being able to know what that means or what it was is because Diem, like we said a few episodes ago, has not been deemed worthy to be able to fully tap into this knowledge and this language yet.
I think it's this voice reacting to a piece of the Everflame that, again, is inside of this metal tree here that cannot be understated, and it is calling Diem to it and her destiny of being the balance.
But where the words come from seems just as important as the word balance itself. Remember, it's in bold and italic, super duper important. Because as we've been pointing out and waving our hands about, this word is so important to this story, and we're assuming especially Burn. And I think this strive for balance, and she's learning about in bold and italicized letters, it is going to be the driving force for Diem in the next book. But what does balance mean? I keep going back to that one Amarian to rise, and this is one balanced Amarian rising, not torn apart by descended and mortals or kindred and Everflame religions, but instead a one balanced unified world. And this is the kindred's way of saying, focus on this, Diem, because this one word can become a rallying cry for her and her war next book.
I think Diem will also have to fully embrace this balance and turn it into her own, I don't want to say weapon, but her own magical ability that makes her this chosen one. Like, she kind of knows it and she can feel this concept, but she hasn't quite put all of the puzzle pieces fully together. And I really do think that once when she does that, she's close, but once when she does, she is going to unlock so much more knowledge and power realization, kind of like when she kind of embraced just being a descendant and the challenging. I think we're going to get something along those same lines, but it'll be the balance of these two different worlds and these two different peoples. Speaking of, when Diem hears this word balance in a foreign, ancient, and familiar voice, she approaches this gigantic bronze tree and she touches it. First of all, she notices that this metal is oddly warm despite the chilly air, almost as if a spark of the undying fire is truly embedded in this. And there's a bit of Everflame magic in here. Yes, my answer is a resounding yes. Then we get this. As Diem's fingertips roam along a branch, brushing against the gemstones, quote, the tree sparked to life. The jewels flared with waves of light that engulfed the room in a waltz of flittering fiery hues. Even the bronze took on a heated shade of red. As soon as Diem removes her hand from the tree, the light instantly fades from the gems. Then when Luther touches the tree, it does not have any reaction. So the tree only sparks to life and becomes a fiery glow from these flaring waves of light when Diem touches it. We have to remember, Luther has a mortal mother, so mortal lineage alone does not create this effect for the metal Everflame tree here. It's only Diem, whose mother has been foreshadowed to be related to this red-haired man at the base of the Everflame tree, who is born on Kareel, where pregnant women used to go to have their babies on this Everflame soil because of its life-giving powers, who is the daughter of the Forgotten. This is so amazing. I just get full body chills, and I love these moments of series where just sends us spiraling about what it means.
Yes, because there's also another part to this. Right after she touches the tree, we get another bold and italicized moment. Quote, "Restore the balance, daughter of the Forgotten."
And whenever anything is bold and italicized, it immediately clues us in that it is her godhood.
Yes.
That's what I'm understanding, yes. Or some ancient language that is channeled through her godhood.
Yes, because I'm actually going to argue that I don't think this is her godhood speaking through her, because Diem believes it's her godhood, but I think it's an unreliable narrator moment. Given that these words are, again, bolded and italicized, it does seem very kindred, very like ancient and foreign language. It would make sense that it is, for lack of a better term, the ancient conference room dialing her in to the Zoom call and speaking through her. But I'm also going to open up another possibility, because yes, I do think this is the kindred speaking, but also it's her Everflame magic lighting up this tree in this very moment, like you were saying earlier. So while Diem is not wrong about her godhood speaking through her, kind of like an elevated godhood, let's say, it wasn't her godhood reacting to the Everflame like she assumes it is, lighting it up with magic. Instead, it was her being born on the Everflame sacred soil, magic sparking to life, aka she is literally the balance in this moment. She is activating her Everflame powers while the kindred are speaking through her. She is the balance. It's so good.
I'm just so convinced she is the daughter of both Forgottens, the 10th kindred and the old mortal religion. And I keep thinking about this concept of a conduit too. Will Diem somehow have to be a new conduit for this possible one Amarian to rise and restore the balance? Like here in this moment, it's almost as if we might be getting a glimpse of how her touch can be a conduit. I think this is also a big neon sign that Diem will indeed be the one who reignites the Everflame and brings it back. Remember what Mother Montio said through the late king in his letter, quote, "Share the gift to pay the cost. A dying star will rekindle the spark." Diem is literally rekindling a spark right here. And I really do wonder if you might be onto something, Nicole, with the gift being the Everflame. I think you said the island specifically, but I'm going to tweak that a little bit to make it the Everflame, because it was a gift to the kindred originally. And maybe it's up to Diem to share it and bring it back to the old mortal religion for this balance. And that's somehow how the cost can be paid. No matter what, I believe this giant metal door of the Everflame will absolutely positively come back into play, because the last remaining ember from the Everflame is within this, and Diem will be able to ignite it in a way. She is the key to bringing the Everflame back. Now, will we absolutely need this door, for instance, to like regrow the Everflame? I'm not quite sure, but it's not the last we've seen of it, I don't think.
Definitely not. I think that when she becomes the crown of Sophos, if that does happen, I'm strongly leaning yes, especially towards the end of this book. I think that she will come back here and hopefully read some of these books, and we get to know, because she does read them, but we get to know as the reader what she's reading.
Well, she doesn't even know yet, because she's just flipping through pages and just memorizing the page so she can go back through and read later. Yeah.
I'm so mad she doesn't have her magic on the island.
I know!
I'm like irrationally mad about this.
Opening the tree door, the room on the other side is cozy despite its grandiose entrance. There are bookshelves of varying heights, ancient artifacts arranged in an arc, and in the center is a sitting area at the base of a stone hearth with a low-burning fire and nearby blankets and cushions, plus an arrangement of food, wine, and a kettle of tea. Surprise, Diem! In this Crown's Only Access room are the mortal books that were banned by the first Crowns. So the little that anyone from this world knows of the old gods and the ancient mortal ways are right here in this room. Hi, everybody. Yes, this is my dream. I need this room and cozy reading corner and illegal history books like right now, plus with the food and the wine and the hot tea. I just, even imagining this is an out-of-body experience for me. I need it. I need it right now. But I'm not done. On the ceiling of this room is a large mural of the Everflame that reminds Diem of the fragments she saw back at the Old Mortal Temple at the beginning of last episode. The flames on this mural are flecked with veins of silver leaf, and we see this man with vivid red hair. Again, man, he just keeps popping up, huh? He leans casually at the base of the trunk. His chin is tipped down and his face is obscured. Our content researcher Brooke made a really great note in the outline that I absolutely agree with. What if the man looks like Teller? Because I feel like there has to be a reason we have not seen his face yet. Unless I could absolutely also see it being like an air of mystery. I assume there is a reason for this that ties directly into the old mortal religion. Like perhaps only people who are being judged can look upon his face, or those who are in need of the undying fire that he plucks for them. I'm sticking to the theory that this red-haired man is considered the original guardian of the Everflame, and I could also totally see him looking a lot like Teller, which will make future Diem go, wait a second.
I love that theory. Oh, I hope that's true. God, I see that so vividly. But I do have this follow-up question. Do you think that it's important that everything in this room has these warm hues to it, except, quote, the flames were flecked with veins of silver leaf? Silver has always been associated with the kindred, the moon, Diem and her silvery powers, and of course Sophia Kai. So why are the flames in this Everflame room literally being flecked with a color that we associate so completely with a different race and religion? Is it because of balance or something else?
So I was wondering the same thing, and I was thinking about like how the flames might represent the sun, and the silver veins of the leaves represent the moon. Since Penn has made it very clear both of these are important, and yes, Nicole, I am just fully leaning into this moon watch now.
Yay!
And Diem represents both. Like you're saying, she is the balance. As Diem sees just how much Luther has done for her, down to every last detail, from the caffeinated tea for staying up all night to the mortal books pulled out that he knows she'll want to start with, Diem feels a soul-deep love for Luther, a love that she did not believe was possible. I love how she refers to this incredible feeling within her as a phoenix, even though she doesn't say the word phoenix on the page. This feeling is destroying her and reducing her to bone and ash. Then it's rebuilding her in flame and passion. This description of true love for someone, where it feels like your heart is outside of you, where you could burst with this feeling so intense and so overwhelmingly wonderful. It's just beautiful. And I just love this so much for these two characters who we've been with for 3 books. They have been through so much individually and together. And now to get to this moment of pure love, I say this in the best way. Love is not a strong enough word anymore that Luther and Diem share. And that's really what Penn is capturing here in these descriptions. This is why we read these books. One of the many reasons anyway, to feel this emotion through the pages. And I just really and truly believe that this is romance at its finest.
I could not agree more. And with that, the time has come. Yes, that is spelled C-U-M. Because with this locking into place of an earth-shattering love in Diem's heart, she pounces on Luther. Books forgotten, clothes flying off as they frantically get to each other's skin. As Luther nips at Diem's chest and her wanting to bang, bang, bangity bang grows needy, we get some rather interesting lines. Quote, I wanted him inside me, not just between my legs. I wanted his blood coursing through my veins, his bones fused to mine to make me strong. I wanted to tear myself open and keep a piece of him hidden away inside of me from this vicious world that kept trying to tear us apart. These are mating words right here. And I also love how Penn describes this new layer of love between these two. Speaking from my own experience, there is a love, really deep when you're starting to date someone. You say, I love you for the first time, yada, yada, yada. But then there's this moment. Maybe it's not as abrupt for Luther and Diem. For instance, for me, it was over months with Brett. But it's where it goes from love, like I see myself with you, I love you, to I see myself loving with you, growing with you, marrying you, a future with you, that all I want is you in it. And Diem is having this moment with Luther right here, where she realizes that she wants to wear his ring on her hand, her crown on his head. It just feels like that next layer of love. Also, nice foreshadowing, not only for them possibly being mates by the end of this book, which of course we're going to be going through in insane amounts of detail, but also this, I wanted him to wear my crown upon his head, could be foreshadowing for a gift, if it's not the Everflame, the crown, meaning the gift that Diem would give to the faithful heir of Luther. I'm still leaning towards it being the Everflame, but that is another very popular one.
In this frenzy, there is an important exchange between Diem and Luther, because in private, like now, they are not the queen and her prince. As much as these roles are true, when it is just the two of them, they agree to be equal in all things. After all, Diem does not love Luther because he serves her, and he does not love her because she is his queen. Their formal roles can coexist with their feelings for one another, yet they check their titles and all of the expectations that come with them at the door. They and their relationship are more than their titles, and they really want to honor that in private here.
When they are alone, she is not his queen. She is his heart, and he is hers. I am a puddle. I am done. This line is literally everything to me. I am so in love with this man. And it's not only because this is so sweet and loving, but also for the double meaning here, because it is highly plausible foreshadowing for what this "you're my heart" would mean for these two. Again, as we will get into excruciating detail in a moment, but as we have discussed before, we strongly believe that Luther and Diem are already mates at the end of this book, and their mating mark is right over their hearts. So Luther and Diem deciding to call each other "my heart," and their mating marks being over their hearts, that's just the cutest thing. God, I love this book.
And I also love how their nickname for each other, like my heart, it's equalizing. Even the fact that they have the same pet name for each other.
So with the nicknames decided and the clothes fully being tossed away, it is time for Luther to ask her one question. And it is a question of considerable length. And yes, I am walking through every fucking line of it. Quote, "Answer me, my heart. How do you wish to beat?" We love a man who gives options. As he kisses her, he asks if she prefers it soft, and then his fingers cage her neck as he asks if she likes it rough. Should he get on his knees for her? Spoiler, he does. As his grip tightens around her throat, he murmurs, quote, "Or would you rather I force you to your knees for myself?" Then, pushing a finger inside her mouth as she swirls her tongue around it, he says, quote, "Should I make you beg for your release?" Then, fisting her hair, wonders if he should take her so many times she'd scream his name loud enough to be heard in every realm. The verbal foreplay! Oh my God! This is one of the many, many reasons I fucking love Luther. Boy knows how to say words. My goodness. Ending with my favorite of his lines here. Quote, "My strong, brave, beautiful heart. Tell me what you want." I'm so happy!
And what does Diem say she wants?
Fuck! I want to fuck!
What she really, really wants? She wants to, she wants to, She wants to burn. That's right, baby. Diem is alight with passion, and she wants her prince, her heart, to release her. She is a phoenix. She is the sun. She is a force to be reckoned with. This fire within Diem has always existed. Back in early Spark, I'm so sorry I'm bringing this up, when Diem was getting it on with Henry, she thought the same thing, how she wanted to burn. And now she is voicing it out loud to her one true partner, giving in to her baser needs so she can unleash.
And with that, these two explode together, kissing, Luther getting on his knees for her with her back crushed against a bookshelf. As he puts his mouth on her, Luther says something that makes my deep dive brain go, alarm, alarm! Quote, "I thought you'd taste like the forest, but you taste like fire." More fire references. Again, this is me just waving my arms, screaming, burn up the Everflame, born of the Everflame soil, rekindle the spark. This means something. What else means something? As Diem is climaxing with Luther on his knees before her, quote, "My vision splintered into a midnight sky filled with stars and flames and a mischievous silver moon." Silver moon. I am not going to lie. It was when I was reading this on one of my many, many rereads of this book, it was this line that made me go, I think there's something with Moonwatch here. The ultimate mashup of Nicole, Moonwatch, and a sex scene. You're welcome. Speaking of which, back to the sex scene. Because while Diem lays limply, Luther is nowhere near done with her. Moving her to the blankets and laying her out, he tells her again to tell him what she wants. And it's him all of him. And homeboy slides on into her, quote, and it feels like coming home. Finally! And man of his word, Luther gives Diem everything he promised her. Soft and sweet as she's cradled in his arms, wild and rough with her back to his chest and his hand muffling her screams. But Diem is also Diem. So using her light magic, she ties him up on his back as she straddles him, only to have an idea. Still with him tied up, Diem's kisses move lower, but as she focuses her mouth elsewhere, her focus slips, and Luther's hands are freed, and he fists her hair and tells her to part her lips, and he says, "Whiter." Sir, I am speechless. He pounds into her in this new thrilling way. But my favorite part of this scene is the moment after, as he looks at her and says, quote, "Fuck, Diem. Do you have any idea how beautiful you are?" Diem is on her knees with watery eyes, but she feels how beautiful she truly is with how Luther is staring at her. So tugging her into his lap and the two of them wrapped up in each other, they tumble over the edge together. Finally, both of them, finally getting to finish! But as I wrap up, going beat by beat through this scene that I've waited so long for, I do want to pause. Because, full disclosure, this is one of my, if not my favorite spicy scene ever, and you bet I am going to be writing a smut love letter for it. Yes, I love it because of how it is written. Yes, I love this scene because of how long we've had to wait for it. I freaking love a slow burn, y'all. But most of all, I love it because it fully encapsulates what it means to be loved and devoted. As someone who, like many, has been in relationships where I felt like I constantly needed to prove to be something I wasn't, or I was told I wasn't skinny enough, pretty enough, sexy enough, or just all over not enough in all areas, including behind closed doors. This scene with Luther feels like safety and trust in love in every single sentence. To read what it is like to be so wholly loved and doted on makes it easier for me to tap into that experience in my real life with a husband who, in my incredibly biased opinion, overpowers Luther when it comes to support and show of love. We've all basically heard or read the headlines that romantasy is just smut and sex. And while I think many of us can disagree, there's politics, conflict, magic, lore, complex characters, and more that vastly overpowers the page time devoted to spice. I do want to point out that even sex on the page can teach us something too. It can teach us what it means to be cherished, worshipped, and to test out different areas in the bounds of mutual trust with another. It can teach us that in moments like Diem being on her knees with watery eyes, we can feel beautiful, powerful, and more than enough. It teaches us that having someone who professes love to you in each moment can be just as sexy as a morally gray man. And most of all, it teaches us that this does not have to be the exception. It is a natural born right to be loved so wholly, to be seen as someone's joy and salvation, and to be promised to be loved as long as love exists. So thank you, Smut. Not necessarily for teaching me this lesson. I have my husband to thank for that, but for reminding me to bask in the feeling of being loved, enough, and cherished for as long as love exists.
Aw, that's beautiful, Nicole.
Thanks. I've missed my smut love letters.
The next day, after much reading of books and bangity bang banging, Luther is holding an apple and cutting it up with a small knife as Diem mentions she wants to find land near her family's old cottage, hire mortals to build it, and make it a home that they can grow into with their own family. Diem just admitted that she wants to have a family with Luther. And he goes still, dare I say, preternaturally still. His knuckles go white and his hand slips off the apple, making his knife slice across his chest, and he bleeds from it. And when Diem rushes to his side and heals him, worried how this accident was right over his heart, Luther just stares at her, his lips parted, and Luther's eyes are aglow with something different and warmer than luminous light.
We have been waiting 20 episodes to talk about this because we fully believe that this is Luther performing the mating bond ritual. While mates are today's Sophos Library topic, I do want to do a super fast, Spark Notes version of mating rituals. They require you to profess your love for someone and make a cut. The love professed does not need to be out loud, and it does not need to be at the same time as the other person's cut. So with that, let us go through the reasons why we believe this is Luther performing the mating ritual. Number 1, everything around this heart language, it is not an accident. The fact that the cut is right over his heart, it means something.
Yes, his heart has been completely protected by Luminos all these years. Diem says that his cut is right over his heart. This is the first time anything has actually pierced that space on his chest. Right? Like, even his scar has a mysterious gap there. Like, it's the one place untouched. Same thing happened with the Godstone poison. But this, right over the heart, it sounds like a mating mark where Luminos has protected this space for all these decades.
Number 2, his demeanor immediately changes after this cut happens. He needs to be around Diem. He's afraid to leave her side. And as we know from when they were in Ignios and Terran teasing, when someone is first mated, there's this extra protectiveness and bond that you have to get used to. And this is Luther experiencing that extra protectiveness and new bond. Number 3, when he cuts himself, quote, his eyes were aglow, but not with the usual luminous light, something warmer. This warmer language is exactly what Diem's is later when she says something warmth blooms within her as she's being stabbed. Number 4, then later when he looks up at Sarai and says, quote, it worked, we can infer that this is him being able to call Sarai to the island. Again, we're going to go through this later, but I just wanted to highlight this here. Since Diem did not call Sarai in that moment, how would he be able to do that? Mating bond. If he was one half of Diem's soul, he would probably have a similar connection to Sarai, maybe not as close, especially, Phanos magic as close, but apparently be able to call her, which makes me wonder how that worked with Raphael and Ulthar and Sarai. Now that's why we believe he has it, but it does come down to the question, did he mean to do this or was this an accident? Because I'm leaning towards he meant to do it.
Me too.
This has changed since our burn predictions episode because you were adamant during I remember this. That's why I wrote bet in question marks during this part of the outline that you judged me for. So I believe that before they started talking about the future, he mentions basically the possibility of something going wrong on the island. I think he is planning ahead for if something does go wrong. He refuses to be away from her in the same way he was last time, but this is a way he would still have a connection to her and hopefully be able to find her easier. Then after Diem asks him if their house could be something they could grow into as a family, Luther is still for a long time. In his mind, I bet you anything, he is professing how badly he wants her to be his mate and have a long life with her, and then his knuckles go white because he's holding so tightly and then slip. I feel like normally a slip would be because your grip is loose and Luther's are white knuckled.
I am 70% sure the knife slip was actually on purpose, but also I think that it could be an involuntary reaction to Diem professing that she wants to have a family with him. Like, I know involuntary and on purpose are kind of opposites, but somehow it all works together. I agree wholeheartedly with you that Luther has been wanting her to be his mate. I think everybody can agree on that. He has said mating vow kind of words to her for a while, and specifically in the past 24 hours. The words, the feelings were already embedded in his mind and imprinted on his soul. So once he got, I'll call it permission from her with talks of a future and family, he bound himself to her as a mate. In the moment, yes, for strategic reasons about being separated soon, but also he is ready for his future to be bound to her, and maybe he doesn't want to pressure her into the same, because part of it could be like, well, why isn't he saying to her right now, like, let's just do this? I don't think that he will ever be the one to bring that up with her. So part of me is like, the reason that I could see this being an accident with that 30% there is because he would want her to be part of this with him. So that's my hesitation.
Well, I'm going to add another hesitation into it because this is one of the big plot holes that I see with the whole he did it on purpose theory, is when Diem and Co. push off the dock and start heading into the water for Kareel, he, Luther, looked utterly miserable as his hand pressed against his heart. Suddenly, his expression shifted. He stared down at his palm, frowning, and then looked up, his gaze sharpening on Doral. Frowning is really throwing me off here. Is he frowning because he just felt that warm pulse glow and it's the mating bond and it's surprising him? Because that's what I'm leaning towards. So I think I'm more 50-50.
So initially, I had to double check that the bonded bargain that Doral and Diem make happens after this occurs with Luther. Because initially, I was like, what if he felt the bonded bargain as her mate? But then it's like, nope, that the timeline does not work out there. He definitely seems to recognize that something is wrong. So what if when he touches his hand to his new mating mark over his heart, he feels something that says that his mate is in danger? So that's why he looks down at his palm, because he feels something from over his mark and is momentarily confused, then knows Doral is the culprit. That's when he'll call Sarai to come to the rescue, as he does not trust Doral in the slightest. So I think there is some kind of mating bond thing here going on, that he can sense something is wrong. Or we also know that Mother Lumnos has put a hand in some things. So maybe she is sending him some kind of message when he puts his hand over his heart. And she's like, hey, something's wrong here. So Luther and Diem get in the electric carriage and head to the coast of Sophos so Diem can meet up with Doral and depart for the coronation. And once Diem and Doral are in the boat zipping toward the island, Doral asks if Diem made sure her mother confirmed that the rebels will allow the crowns onto Kareel without any violence from the mortals holding it hostage. To which Diem, she does not have that answer, as much as she tries to hope otherwise. So she lies and says, yeah, it's all fine. Diem and her mother did discuss before they departed from each other that Orly would try to make this happen. But that was their last communication. So Diem has only been able to hope that her mother has been able to follow through on her end. All in all, this is quite the risk that Diem is taking. She genuinely does not know if she is sending all the crowns into a bloodbath. Again, while this is still 2 days later, like Doral initially planned, Diem and Luther were left in the library 1 day longer than they were expected. Remember, they were supposed to have 24 hours in there, but it got extended and nobody came to get them or anything like that. And at the time, they're like, yay, this is wonderful. They gave us even more time, when really there was another reason. When Diem will say to Doral that she wishes they had more of a chance to speak together, Doral will snap that they've been very busy, which yes, very busy indeed. Doral has been putting their full plans into motion, including kidnapping Teller and holding him hostage so Diem will cooperate on the island, as well as researching everything they have from what the Kindred documented about the forging spell to recast it and adjust it, and probably a whole lot more. Also, of course, we have like where the army people were going. Doral has been very busy, and also talking to Miros, and okay, we'll get into all of that shortly. In fact, when Diem will ask Doral how their research is going, they will not give her an answer. They'll change the subject immediately to the bonded bargain. I think it's because they don't want to get caught in a lie with Diem using her Umbros magic. And they knew keeping Diem in the library was the best bet. It was the perfect distraction.
Yeah, Diem saying last episode, I knew you were lying, I could tell with my Umbros magic, really shot her in the foot here because Doral's listening. But I have a question for you, because as Diem is going to meet up with Doral on the docks, Diem sees the deserted streets of Sophos and asks the guards escorting her, where are the army soldiers, since they should be back from Umbros by now? What is happening? Because first and foremost, why are the streets nearly deserted? Where is everybody? And then the Sophos attendants who are guiding Diem to the docks say that the soldiers were delayed from Umbros. And it's actually, quote, ... delayed. So that's a lie. There are...
Well, they are delayed.
But they're going to Kareel.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, that's why I figured. Because, like, they are going to get the mortals off the island and fulfill Doral's plan. Like, that's how I took it. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So the army soldiers are currently positioning themselves around the island of Kareel to take any mortals once when they have to flee, and they will take them then to prison. We also know that army soldiers are going to have Teller in their grasp. So a few of them are probably getting Teller as well. And I'm assuming there's way more to it with the army soldiers working in the background with Doral's plan. While on the Sophos boat speeding toward the island, don't worry, we will not talk about the size of the royal boat here. Doral is very insistent on that bonded bargain Diem offered a few days ago. Oh, shoot, you didn't forget about that, Doral. Darn it! I just want to point out this little detail where Doral focuses on Diem's 10-pointed star mark before bringing up the bonded bargain. It's like a sign that they still cannot trust Diem and her connection to Ophiuchi even after the battle. On a reread, Doral is especially urging Diem to agree to this bonded bargain. It'll go a long way with the other crowns for Diem to put her magic on the line in opposition to Ophiuchi. And she still wants Doral to talk to Miros, right? And because Doral is the only one who can make Miros vote in her favor. And without Miros' vote, Diem, she's doomed. Oh, very convincing here, Doral. And yes, Diem is understandably caught up in the necessity from her end of the bargain. But I remember as a first-time reader screaming through the pages, don't Do it, Diem! But at last, Diem goes through the bargain. From her perspective, she needs those votes to pardon her and her mother so that she can go and kill Ophiuchi, so that she can save Amarian. She's like, this is the best option. Yes, I don't want to have to do this bonded bargain, but it's the only way, at least from her perspective. That's what she's thinking here. But let's talk about this vow in its entirety, because remember how much words matter within these bargains. Doral, quote, vows to do everything they can to convince the Miros king to vote for a pardon for Diem and her mother. And Doral will recommend the other crowns do the same. Because we can't forget that Diem needs a majority of 6 and she holds 3 crowns. So she needs Doral's vote and 2 more. She thinks that she has Arboros's because the queen is with the guardians, but Diem has been very concerned about getting that 6th vote. That is why Doral trying to convince Miros to vote in her favor is a really big deal for Diem here. She needs that vote. Meanwhile, from her end of the bargain, Diem swears that she didn't know about the attack on the island or the attack on Sophos, and, most importantly, she vows to kill the man who led it.
I have to admit, Doral's kind of brilliant. Like we discussed last episode, Doral does not trust Diem. Her mother is a guardian. Her birth father, whose mark she bears, is trying to destroy Amarian and wants Diem to join him. Diem and Ophiuchi also have the same super duper powerful powers. But even if Diem isn't working with Ophiuchi, she is still a huge threat on Amarian just based on how much power and crowns she has alone. So if Doral makes a bonded bargain with Diem that she has to kill Ophiuchi, and then they trap her on the island, ensuring that she can't kill Ophiuchi, and somehow they and the other crowns get to kill Ophiuchi, they eliminate both threats. Ophiuchi is dead, and Diem is powerless. Again, from their POV, this is brilliant.
Well, yes, it is brilliant, but some of that wording in the bonded bargain,
I'm going to get into it.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Don't worry about it.
From Diem's perspective, this bonded bargain is a disaster, and she knows it, mainly because she does not think she is capable of trying to kill her birth father again. Diem knows even in this moment, before sealing the bonded bargain, that she does not want to kill Ophiuchi. She wants a father figure, and after Andre's death, she is missing that part of her life, and she wants Ophiuchi to fulfill it. He protected her from the attacks after all, and he spared the people of Sophos when he could have just killed her. She wants to be more than just the person who broke him out of his chains. She wants her birth father to care for her, and in turn, she wants to find the good in him. I am really wondering if in Burn we will see an example of that want for someone to be a better person to fall flat, because I do think that in real life that happens to a lot of people, where it's like giving somebody so many chances and just wanting them to be different, and they keep proving time and time again that they are exactly who they've shown to be. And I wonder if we will get that a little bit in Ophiuchi, because we are getting so many other people who seem bad but actually aren't, and I really think that we are going to get some redemption arcs. But I'll be honest, it would be weird if we got a redemption arc with Ophiuchi at this point. I think that we'll get a really great villain backstory, but what Diem is wanting right here, I
think it's naivete. I'll be honest.
Yes. And it's like she genuinely doesn't know if she can kill her birth father with what it will do to her soul.
Yeah.
And my response to that, and I'm so sorry to say this, Diem, because it is some tough love, all I can think back is what Diem said to Yrselle back in Umbros, that she is willing to sacrifice anything, no matter what it does to her soul. And we are seeing on the page time and time again that Diem can say that, but she doesn't truly know that yet. And I really wonder how that is going to come into play and what it will end up doing to her soul, because I don't think she's ready at all. You know, Yrselle will be like, no, you're not ready. You have no idea what's still coming for you. Because she's like, I know, I understand now. And she's like, no, you don't. Anyway, Diem knows that Ophiuchi is guilty and he deserves to die, and she needs to save Amarian. That is why she goes through with the bonded bargain. She has to rely on this train of thought to fulfill her end. But deep down, she hopes that she can save her father too.
So this is one of my big head scratchers going into Burn, because I'm assuming the bonded bargain is going to have to be fulfilled one way or another. So Diem could end up magicless, which, to be honest, I really hope doesn't happen, or at least doesn't happen because of Doral and her getting outsmarted. I just don't feel like that's a right end for Diem. So assuming that this bargain will be fulfilled somehow and Diem will keep her magic, Diem will have to get off the island and kill Ophiuchi. It's not improbable. I do think this will happen because I don't see a world in which Ophiuchi is alive at the end of the series, but it is a question of whether or not Diem herself will be the one to kill him. Which brings me to this very, very interesting wording here in Doral's bonded bargain. Do you swear that you didn't know about the attack on the island or the attack on my realm, and you vow to kill the man who led it? Kill the man who led it. It is not very specific, Doral, because there's two subject it's in this sentence. The attack on the island and the attack on Doral's realm. The attack on the island was not led by Ophiuchi. The man who led the attack could be considered Vance. Yes, Orally ultimately led the attack, but she is not a man. So if Diem kills Vance, could that technically uphold her end of the bargain? And is that one of the reasons that Vance is being kept alive?
That's exactly what I'm thinking, too.
Yes!
Doral is pairing the attack on the island and the attack on their realm as one, when technically it was led by two different people. One a woman, Orly, one a man, Ophiuchi. But Vance is secondary in command for both of these attacks. He is the only true common denominator. But yeah, assuming that the wording in the bonded bargain is tight and this is straightforward, Diem must kill Ophiuchi. Going back to what you're saying here with how if she doesn't fulfill it and it feels a little lackluster with her getting outsmarted, I could see her losing her magic because she's not the one to kill him, and that it is something that in the moment she is okay with. Like, it won't be a trick, but it's Luther who ends up killing Ophiuchi, and she accepts the consequences of the broken bargain because she is able to still keep her soul in place or something like that.
But then how would that fulfill the give them our gift daughter of the Forgotten? Because I feel like she will have to be magic-y for give him our gift.
I'm working on one thing at a time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I really do think ultimately that the wording of the bargain is going to be very important. We did not get that foreshadowing from King Ulther's bonded bargain story for nothing more than part of the backstory. I am sure of it. And It was a cautionary tale in the wording of bonded bargains. I really did think that back in Glow, when Diem made the bonded bargain with Remus, that we might get something like that, but we didn't. We are still waiting for that. And totally separate from this bonded bargain, I am still convinced that Diem has a bonded bargain in place with Mother Lumnos back from when she saved Luther. Now, that was specifically around Luther, so I do think that she might have to sacrifice Luther, and he will be the ultimate cost here. We're talking about that a little bit later, but then Mother Lumnos will help bring him back or something like that. With the bonded bargain sealed, Doral and Diem arrive on Kareel to get this show on the road. To Diem's relief, the Guardians holding the island allow the crowns to pass. So it does seem like Orally convinced them to let the crowns have Diem's coronation here. I wonder if her persuasion also included that this is the opportunity for the crowns to pardon Orally, and this was the main incentive for the Guardians to permit the crowns back on the island, because they really do want her leader to, be pardoned. Oh, but little do these mortals or Diem know that Doral has something up their sleeve to make sure no mortal or anyone who is not a crown can step foot on the island when they depart. Even though the mortals let them on the island, there is tension here, and not the good kind. As the crowns stand at the Kindred's temple, the Guardians are hovering just outside the area, glaring at them with daggers, both, like with their eyes daggers as well as their weapon daggers, and they're holding them very threateningly. One wrong move on either party side, and this place is going to be a bloodbath. When I read this for the first time, I was like, oh dear, shit is about to go down, though I definitely did not expect what actually happened. Here for the coronation already are the Phanos Queen, Ignios King, and Miros King. Miros and Doral are talking in hushed voices, and again, on a first read, we think that this is Doral trying to convince Miros, like they agreed to do for their part of the bonded bargain. But once Doral reveals their intention to recast the forging magic and imprison Diem on the island so she cannot fulfill her part of the bargain, the Sophos and Miros Gryverns will be very nearby, showing that this was all a setup and Miros was in on it. So in this moment, I think we can pretty much guarantee that Miros is aware of Doral's plan, but he is not fully bought in about whether or not it will work. And their whispering here is Doral assuring Miros to cast his vote for Diem because this is all part of the master plan. The Queen of Arbros arrives a little late, saying she got held up at the docks, and it's very interesting because she is distancing herself from Diem. It's my understanding she has her own plans set in place to smuggle the mortals back to Arbros, but I don't think she knows about Doral's plan that will require the mortals to run for their lives. So maybe this is her doing that just in case shit hits the fan between these crowns and the Guardians letting them on the island.
I definitely think this is her in some way communicating with the Guardians, whether it's just like a routine checkup or if it is, here's plan A, B, C, and D. No matter what, she was not delayed docking. She was definitely delayed talking to them. I can say that with full certainty.
I agree. I also wonder if she left them some supplies, too.
Oh,
right?
I mean, it wouldn't really matter because they won't use it, but maybe Diem will. We know that she's leaving supplies for Diem also over the next month from the first 3 chapters of Vern, so maybe.
The crowns are only waiting for Umbros now. Well, and the other crowns think they're also waiting for Montios and Fortos, but Diem's like, no, we don't need them. This group here are the only crowns Diem needs to appeal to, or so she thinks, as Diem is under the assumption Yrselle will vote against her after their falling out back in Umbros.
I'm not gonna lie, Diem, that looks a little sus. That looks a little suspicious. With almost everyone here, it is time for Diem to lay it all out. Why she asked Doral to bring the crowns together. Remember, the way the crowns politics work in Marian is that in order for a movement to pass, there must be a vote of 6 out of 9 of the crowns, and Diem controls 3 of those votes.
Since the alleged crimes took place on Kirill, they were not against any one realm, but against all of Amarian. So this majority voting applies when it is not realm specific, but something against all of the crowns.
Yes. Diem is requesting a full pardon for herself. Since learning about it in Ignios, Diem has had a call for her to present herself to the crowns for questioning because of what happened on the island at the end of Glow. They believe that she is working with the Guardians, that she is an imposter, and now that she killed the King of Fortos and let all of his prisoners go. That call for her to present herself, it turned into something more like, hey, we need to talk to you right fucking now. It's not quite a call for imprisonment, and Diem is riding on that technicality. In her defense, she's not technically committed a crime against the crowns, and she has not technically committed a realm crime in a realm that she is not the queen of. Nice wording there, Diem. She didn't have anything to do with the attack on the island, after all. Again, that is an attack against the crowns.
Which she proved that she was not part of that with her bonded bargain with Doral.
Exactly. She is a queen. She is not an imposter. And yes, she killed the King of Fortos, but that was in self-defense since he attacked first. And considering what horrors he was inflicting on the prisoners, and the prisoners that were released was technically a crime against Fortos, a realm that she is the queen of, it doesn't really matter that she did it.
Well, exactly. What she's saying to the other crowns is that Fortos was mistreating the prisoners and essentially committing crimes against humanity. So yes, she let them go because he failed them. He committed crimes against them, so to speak.
And I'll give it to Fanos, because she's like, honestly, it sounds like he deserves the fate that he was, dealt.
That's such a Fanos thing.
It really, because yes, the circle of life is so big.
Yeah, and it'll bite Diem in the butt here soon.
Yes.
But yes.
God, I love her. So all in all, Diem actually may have been able to get this pardon for herself from the crowns. But there's a second part of this request. She is also requesting a full pardon for her mother, the leader of the Guardians, who, in the Crown's eyes, has been murdering their way through cities left and right. They do not know that this is Ophiakai's faction of the Guardians killing Umbros and Miros and so on and so forth. There's also the small issue of her orally having planted bombs around the island, killing the King of Montios, and getting the Guardians of the Everflame control of the entire island of Kirill. In Diem's eyes, she is asking the crowns not to forgive the acts of Orally Bellator, because she knows they won't, but instead to look forward to a different type of future, where they need to work together. And of course, the Guardians are fighting back in bigger ways. The mortals have had everything taken from them. They have been murdered in the Crown's realms. They are taxed in outrageous ways. Of course, they're going to fight back in these crazy ways, like planting bombs around an island with a sacred temple on it. So instead of continuing with more of the same, which is exactly what the execution over Orly's head would look like, Diem is asking all of the Crowns to look forward, to look for a future where mortals are not in a position where they feel like they need to bite back for their basic human rights. And that starts here, with the Crowns taking the high road and giving Orly that pardon, thus showing the Guardians that they are open to change, that the Guardians can be open to as well. I love you, Diem. And I totally see why she wants her mother to not have this executional sentence over her head, obviously. And politically, putting myself in the other Crown's shoes, this is a tall order. Because even as Arboros says, this look forward mindset will require both parties to be of similar mind. And it seems like the Guardians are only getting more and more powerful.
And from the Crown's perspective, they are not honoring previous relationships within realms. For instance, Umbros was friendly to mortals, and they were still targeted in an attack. Arboros is even more friendly to the mortals, especially the Guardians, and the Queen is understandably terrified that her realm is next. It doesn't make it easy for these Crowns who have, I'll call it, played nice with the mortals to want to continue to do so when, from their perspective, they are getting betrayed. So yes, and it goes back to that cycle of hatred and Diem trying to break it, and how much more difficult that is and how much more courage that does require to be able to look forward, to be able to keep moving forward and live in this world where maybe forgiveness is not in place, but you all still have to live here and you have to unite and find some kind of similarities here, right? So I love that this is Diem's prerogative. And I also think that, with Eleanor kind of like planting the seeds with the younger Corbois families, that is telling because they are receptive to this. These are the Crowns. They are powerful. They have their realms, their descended, that they feel responsible for.
Well, and they've benefited off of this oppression of the mortals.
Yes.
So
they don't see a problem with it, pretty much.
They unfortunately don't. And what Diem is lacking in this initial part of her pitch is the what's in it for them. Because let's be honest, the Crowns are not exactly known for being selfless like Diem at all.
I will argue that what's in it for them is Diem's like, you'll stay alive. Like, the fate of the world is at stake here.
But they don't feel that urgency yet, which is why now it's time to play the Ophiuchi card. Because this massive threat against each of the realms, it is not Orly and the Guardians. It is this descended man who is super duper powerful. And this is where I'm not going to give Diem an L by any means, but I'm going to give her maybe a little bit of a, oh honey, because she should have opened with this in this pitch, because this immediately is this is why this is a threat now. This is why this compassion and taking the high road, this is why it's in it for you. And I wish so badly that we all lived in a world where we could talk about getting people out of oppression and that would be enough. But unfortunately, these people who are in power, they need more of a what's in it for me in this pitch. And here it is a little too late. This man, Ophiuchi, he's going to continue to wreak destruction in Amarian, and he's near impossible to kill. So here, finally, is the real ask. Pardon Orly, and she will make the Guardians not join his cause, thus making his war a little less evenly matched. And pardon Diem, and she will kill her sire, Ophiuchi.
Exactly. Which they don't know that he's her sire. But yes.
That's true.
Pardon both of them so Ophiuchi cannot become more powerful. Orly helping from the Guardian side, Diem helping for everybody's side. She's the magic and Orly is the mortal persuasion. Diem insists that without her, the rest of Amarian has no hope. She's the only one who has Ophiuchai's same kind of, as Doral calls it, rare magical ability, where these two can absorb others' magic. And yes, they are keeping it a secret that they are both of the 10th kindred Omnos' line. Doral is the first to vote, obviously casting it in Diem's favor. It's part of their bonded bargain. Doral votes for Diem and her mother's pardon and tries to convince Miros to as well. What Diem does not know is that Doral is dangling this carrot in front of Diem while playing chess around her, basically luring Diem to the ceremony to recast the forging spell and imprison her, trap her where she cannot use her magic until she fails the bonded bargain and it eliminates her magic permanently. Because yes, Ophiuchai is a big threat to all of them and he is the most powerful descended. But there's also Diem. This much power in one person cannot be trusted, no matter whose side they say they're on. While it will be an uphill battle to defeat Ophiuchai, Diem is too much of a wild card herself. Her with all of her magic being on the loose, even if she agrees to kill Ophiuchai, is too dangerous for the rest of Amarian, at least as Doral sees it. So sure, Diem, let's vote in your favor, knowing that it won't follow through, or hell, even if it doesn't matter, because Doral has their eye on the bigger prize, recasting the forging spell to ensure the mortals cannot hold this island hostage, and Diem is locked away here. Because technically, Diem will be pardoned, and it won't matter.
Next up is Miros, named Obannarin, and Obannarin does vote in Diem's favor. But it's not because he believes in Diem's promise. Like we've been talking about, we can gather that separately, Doral and Obannarin talked, and Doral promised the King of Miros that Diem's request will not get a 6th vote because of how utterly insane it is. And Doral also has a plan B just in case. But if Doral upholds their end of the bargain and thus has Miros vote in Diem's favor, they are extinguishing those two threats at once. Also, this is really a big deal. Miros has been hit harder than most of the other realms, honestly, almost combined. Between their fishing villages getting wiped out by Ophiuchai, to guardian attacks at the docks and weapon shipment interception, and that was all before Ophiuchai took over the Forgotten Lands guardians. They, Obannarin, in my opinion, has the most reason to vote fuck no to Diem, which I think explains the King of Miros' hesitancy here. But as Doral says, quote, a necessary evil, Obannarin, whatever it takes to protect our people. On a second read, you now see why this is, trust me, Obannarin, she will not get what she wants, and we will all be safe.
Because the Arboros Queen has been secretly working with the Guardians, it's a safe bet that she'll vote in Diem's favor, securing her the 6 votes she needs for her and Orly to be pardoned. Right? Wrong. Arboros, to Diem's utter dismay, votes against Diem, and essentially for her execution and Orly's too. Which, yeah, that was not expected. Shouldn't she want Orly to be pardoned so she can reunite the Guardians as their leader? So of course we have to wonder, why does Arboros vote no when she supports the Guardians? I think there's a few factors to her decision, including what Diem reflects. The Arboros Queen needs to distance herself from Diem because Diem is considered an enemy by many Guardians. If Arboros sides with Diem, it can anger the Guardians and she can become their next target. We've all seen that Vance and Ophiuchai's faction have no problem attacking cities that have been friendly to the mortals. There's also the strong possibility that this is an opportunity for the Arboros Queen to come off anti-Guardian. From the other crown's perspective, this vote she casts is distancing herself from the Guardians and Diem, who is closely associated with them. The bigger mission of staying undercover to continue helping the Guardians is bigger than these two people, Diem and Orly, as important as they are. In every case, Arboros is thinking first of her realm and her people, and making the best decision she can for their sake. Diem can't fault that whatsoever, as much as it stings her and empties her hope out. Later on, Arboros is just hates and feels so much shame for what is going down with all of this, and she also recognizes that she has to stay with the majority here, so for her own realm's sake.
With a, sorry kitten, Phanos also votes no. And to be honest, this vote of unconfidence from this queen is unsurprising. She stayed out of this fight for the most part. As far as we know, there's been no attacks in Phanos, she has no mortals in her realm, and things are just kind of the way that they are. She's not going to risk all of this change in her realm or risk rebels thinking they can attack her realm and get away with it. So this was a very clear and easy answer for her.
Plus, in her realm, it's very hunt or be hunted. The strong overcome the weak. So she's here thinking, I can't let an attack go unanswered because that'll make me look weak. And that'll only lead them to attack even more. Then we have fucking Ignios, who absolutely no one is surprised votes against Diem with glee. He is the Ignios crown following the Blood War, after all, who banished all the mortals from his realm and killed so many in the process. The realm of Ignios has since become hard and cruel against outsiders, especially mortals, led by this man, this descended crown. He has a personal vendetta against Diem for how she entered his realm uninvited and the ensuing fight, and he is convinced she is with the Guardians. He is one vote that Diem knows without a doubt what he will vote for. He will never vote in the mortals or Diem's favor.
Well, shit. That's all the present crowns, and Diem only has 5 votes. But hold my gardantium! Yrselle enters the chat. And right off the bat, we can tell that something is different. Her fit watch is so different than her normal scantily dressed vibe. She's in a shimmering silk jacquard gown with voluminous skirts, each edged in black velvet. Oh, a tulle collar billows around her head, and a cape trimmed in diamonds follows her. She's rarely so covered up. Now, immediately my deep dive brain is like, why is she doing this? And I'm guessing she wants to go out looking like the queen she is, knowing that she's going to die.
That's my guess too, yes. She's going for that regal look as she goes out. And to be honest, if she knows that she's going to be slumping down, she wants to make sure her goodies are covered up.
Her goodies are covered. All right, let's do a quick timestamp recap because it's been a minute since we've seen Yrselle. Diem left Umbros rather abruptly less than 2 weeks ago in this story. And their farewell in the sky when Diem and co were running away to save Luther and Diem unleashed unknowingly Montios Dragonflame. It's not a surprise that Diem is like, "Aw, fuck, hi, Ursel. Nice to see ya."
The day after Diem abruptly left Umbros to get a dying Luther back to Lumnos, Ophiuchi attacked Umbros City. This is the day that Diem was supposed to still be there and then she was going to leave later that day, based on the two queens' agreement. Yrselle knew this attack was going to happen, and that was why she insisted on Diem staying several days in the first place, so Diem could fight against Ophiuchi. And from what she's saying in this stretch, that was Diem's chance to defeat him. Yrselle tells Diem here, quote, "You have no idea the chain of fate you've set in motion. Every life he takes now is on your hands." The Umbros people suffered from the attacks, and there were many, many casualties. The rebels killed every descendant they could find, including some of the half-mortals who worked at the Second Chance Inn, and some of the Umbros centenaries. However, quick note, I asked Penn if all the centenaries were gone, and she said no. For instance, we have not seen the last of Simon. I asked the same about the Second Chance Inn half-mortals, and she said there are survivors, and that while the attack was very bad, it's not like everyone in Umbros died. So that gives me hope and comfort, and I'm going to cling to that with everything I've got, Penn.
There is no shortage of reasons that Yrselle should vote hell no for Diem and Arlie's pardons. Diem left against Yrselle's demands and bargain that she made with Diem when she first arrived at Umbros. Diem left and Umbros was attacked. We cannot say that enough. Diem doesn't know if Yrselle knows that those attacking guardians were Ophiuchi or not. We can assume that Yrselle does know it's Ophiuchi, considering that she says her father and Amnos, etc. But for all Diem knows, Yrselle believes that they were just the guardians full stop, and she's asking her to pardon the leader of the guardians. Diem was supposed to be there for the attack and basically save the city, but as a result of her leaving, Yrselle's realm was badly attacked. And Diem shot purple Gryvern fire at Yrselle in a high-speed Gryvern chase. There is so many more reasons I could go on, but the assumption is locked in stone when she says, quote, "You don't deserve my vote to Diem."
Not only that, Yrselle broadcasts one of Diem's secrets. Diem has 5 votes because she holds 3 crowns. Low-key hilarious how the other crowns are not observant enough to recognize that Diem's crown that has been showing since she stepped into the KINDRED'S temple is actually 3 crowns interwoven. And Yrselle is like, "You imbeciles, like, look at this, just take a look." But yeah, the other crowns are not happy about this big revelation. Inconceivable! It shouldn't be possible! And this person, Diem, has all of their magics. She is the one person with each of their realm's powers who will not kneel to them, the crowns. This in and of itself makes Diem a huge threat for them. And yes, that is the conclusion Doral came to as well when they learned what Diem is capable of. Crowns innately have this primal nature to anything connected to their realm. Yet here's this anomaly, who they can't claim but still bears their imprints. Miros in particular does not like this news as he gives a loaded stare to Doral. Doral knew this information and did not share it with Miros. And Miros, let's just say he does not appreciate that.
Do you think we're going to see a falling out feels very permanent, but discourse between those two as we get into political maneuverings and burn?
I could see that. Yeah, I think that it's probably a moment that Miros is like, oh shit, there is more to this that Doral is orchestrating here. And I could see the other crowns being like, no, Doral, you are not in charge, because in a little bit here, Diem's pretty much going to point out like, hello, do you all see what Doral is doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but
you're kind of the bigger threat right
you're
now.
Worse, so
with Yrselle basically voting no, at least in Doral's mind, it is time to spill their master plan. Since the crowns have voted against her, again, in Doral's mind, Diem and her mother will be officially charged as enemies of the crown. The coronation ritual will be completed in order to restore the forging spell, but then Diem will be arrested and imprisoned. That's not what they agreed upon, right? Well, as Doral puts it, what they agreed on was that Doral would give Diem their vote and speak in her favor, which they technically did. Doral never claimed that they were going to persuade the other crowns or do everything in their power to make sure Diem wasn't put in this kind of situation. They agreed to literally the bare minimum, and they did that. Miros' vote in favor is proof of that. So what does this mean for Diem? If the crowns imprison her and, without her, successfully kill Ophiuchi before she can, thus the bargain is impossible for her to fulfill and her magic will be gone.
Removing Diem as a threat.
And from the Crown's POV, again, this is brilliant. The Crowns will be killing two birds with one stone. Ophiuchi will be dead, Aurelie will be imprisoned, and Diem will be magicless. The only places in Amarian strong enough to hold a crown, though, are either Fortos and the Godstone cell on the island. Considering Diem's the crown of Fortos, she can't really go there because she'll be able to literally like carve a little piece in her finger, open a bloodlock, and disappear. So instead, Diem will be put in the same imprisonment that Ophiuchi was put in many, many years ago, in the Godstone chamber under the Kindred temple.
Because they believe she is too powerful of a threat during times of war. How interesting that history is repeating itself in this instance.
Yeah, that never happens.
But that's not all, because there is still the matter of the Guardians who have been holding the island hostage. The Crowns need to get the mortals off Kirill, so they're back to having control of the island. Makes sense from their perspective, right? In response to their loud whistle, a bright red flare shoots into the sky. So someone was waiting for that to shoot this flare up into the sky, which brings the Sophos and Miros Gryverns into the fray. Ah, yes. So the fact that these two Gryverns were ready for what is next, they were watching for that red flare, means this was all planned ahead of time. The mortals realize this is a setup and race toward the temple where the crowns are to attack them. The Gryverns breathe dragon fire on the approaching mortals, which is bad because Aurelie promised the mortals they would not be harmed by the crowns. Now there will be broken trust between Aurelie and the Guardians. And which leader will the Guardians want to go to instead? Ophiuchi! That is literally what Diem is screaming at everybody right now. When they recast the forging spell, it will prevent anyone but the crowns from stepping foot on the island. If anyone else is on the island, they will instantly die. Oh, and they have until sunset to get off this island. And would you look at that? The only way the mortals can get off the island is by army boat, where they'll be taken straight to prison. However, we know that the Arboros Queen will work toward getting them to actual safety.
Really quick side note, because I'm assuming there are going to be some Guardians who are taken by Fortos and going to the prison. When Diem gets off this island, because I do believe it is a when, she's the Queen of Fortos. She can literally go to the prison cells and just open them. Which I'm assuming that's what's going to happen.
There is the regent who is in charge right now. I bet they have something that, because the Fortos king might be going off on other adventures throughout Amarian, and I'm sure they have a plan B for all of that. And I don't think that Diem is going to be welcome just to walk into the realm. It's going to be very interesting how she is not welcome in her own realm in that way, yes.
Doy. Because we are in Diem's POV, it is really easy for us to deem the Crown, specifically Doral, the villain in this section of the story. But I am going to basically stand here with my megaphone and say how, again, from Doral's point of view, have I mentioned that this is brilliant and feels like a major win. Were they grateful for Diem being there for the attack and help saving Sophos from Ophiuchi? Yes. But the attack also only made them more suspicious of Diem. She let the Guardians go, according to their guards, and she and Ophiuchi had a standoff where he was protecting her. She bears his 10-pointed star sigil. He is her sire. She could easily go work with Ophiuchi and be playing the long game with him, and Doral will be a casualty. So locking her away would annihilate Ophiuchi's most powerful ally.
And like I've been saying, I really believe that Doral had this plan from the beginning of learning what magic Diem was capable of, back during their very first meeting after Doral approached Diem in the ruins. They said, give me 2 days because I have to do research. And I believe that research they did was on the forging spell, possibly getting recast. And then the attack on Sophos happened, which simultaneously made Doral cement the plan for all the reasons you listed, and feel a little bad because Diem did help them and they are grateful to her. Both of those things can coexist. It's like they don't think Diem is truly bad, but she's such a wild card that is not a risk that Sophos is willing to take.
Yeah. Well, speaking of her being a wild card, what if she and Ophiuchi aren't working together? Well, this is still kind of a win, because who's to say Diem wouldn't just kill Ophiuchi and then become another huge threat to Amarian? She already has 3, soon to be 4, crowns. She is a threat to the democracy Doral believes they're living in. Do I believe Doral is the villain here? No, because they're doing what they believe is the best way to annihilate these 2 huge supposed threats to Amarian. But they also see the humanity in Diem, which is a huge reason why they don't make Diem go into the Godstone cell on Kirill when she begs for them not to. She doesn't want to become like Ophiuchi, and Doral does have sympathy for her in that moment.
Diem frames this whole ordeal as Sophos performing a coup, and the other crowns are just okay with Sophos taking control of the army, ordering it around to do all of this when Sophos is not supposed to be in command of the army. How Sophos has gone behind the others' backs to get the upper hand, where the Fortos regent, now leading the Amarian army, answers to Sophos. That cannot be overlooked, like how this is all playing out. And no, the others are not crazy about this idea. They don't like it, but from their perspective, Diem is the bigger threat. So Diem's accusations, they fall on deaf ears.
Well, sorry, Doral, because it seems that you may have jumped the gun a little too soon, because Yrselle technically still has not given her vote yet. And buckle up, friends, because this is juicy. She says, quote, "There's much I could have told you, daughter of the forgotten, about your father and your magic, your fate, about Omnos." This gets Doral's attention. As far as they know, no one but the Sophos crowns knew about Omnos.
And despite the Umbros Queen being one of the crowns who locked Ophiuchi up, Doral clearly did not know she knew about the Omnos connection. I just have to point out, Yrselle says, quote, "about your father and your magic, your fate, about Omnos." Nicole, that does sound separate from her actual father.
Are you ready to make a bet yet, Lexi? Because I'll make the bet with you.
I know!
Do it, do it.
You know what? Sure. I am still 50. I am still like 80% sure that Ophiuchi is Omnos. For all the reasons that we've been talking about. And this is more just for fun that
I'm so
don't think
happy.
So. I'm just going to say it just so that we have... No, I do want... No, I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet.
Are you kidding me?
I can't do this. You know how I get when I have to be put in these situations.
Are you kidding me? Do you know how few bets we have for Burn?
I know.
We only have 3 right now.
Fine, I will make this bet. But I want a little asterisk next to it.
Oh my god. Okay. Ophiuchi is Omnos. Nicole, I vote yes. He is the same person.
No, I do think he is.
Lexi,
no,
God damn it.
Okay, fine. They are not the exact same person.
So just to be clear, there's no asterisk here because I don't know what a gray area would be.
I want the asterisk to be that I still do believe this Partly, and that this bet is more because I am riling you up. That's what the asterisk is.
So you want this asterisk to be, if you're wrong, you're not actually wrong.
Yes, that is exactly what I want those asterisks to be.
I am not putting that in this
Yes,
bet.
you are. I will not. I take my bet back until you put the asterisk.
Oh my God, fine, I'll add it. Now, Yrselle does continue, saying that the future is so much darker now. She had a pretty clear idea as to how this war was going to shape up. And victory was very certain, according to her. I'm assuming from Father Ambrose. But now, it's not, which is dun 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 bad. She does say that she shares the blame for not telling her sooner. And I'm glad she admits that, because I agree with you, Yrselle. Quote, Blessed Father Ambrose warned me that our fate hung in the balance of your choice. I have a feeling this is going to be a big thing in Burn, but I wonder which choice. I don't think it's actually down to one choice. I think it's choices, but I do wonder which choices she is exactly referring to, because I think that this is a moment where it's not just the one where Diem left before the attack on Ambrose.
I agree. I do think that she is specifically talking about the attack on Ambrose when she is referring to, Father Ambrose urged me to trust you. Instead, I tried to force your hand. That decision cost me much. And like we've been saying, we think that was a fate where Diem could have defeated Ophiuchi and learned more about herself. But because Diem made a different choice, the harder road is ahead now. And I think that the Kindred know this is the harder way. And ultimately, it is also the only way. Because Luminos has at least shown a vision of the future, one that wouldn't have been possible in Ambrose.
It is interesting that Luminos is showing Diem a vision and Ambrose is showing Yrselle a very different vision. They're in the conference room together. I don't think they're on the same slideshow.
But I think that comes down to it with the different choices.
Oh,
that
okay,
Father Ambrose was hoping that this would happen instead. But then we also get, urging to trust you and things like that. And that also sounds a lot like what the late king of Montios said, where it's like, this woman has to be trusted. I'll even say what Father Fortos said through the king of Fortos as he was dying, where it was like, I've never made this decision before. Like, I'm going to have to trust you is essentially what he's implying. So I think that it really does come down to the Kindred are having to trust Diem with the decisions that she makes. And they are guiding her a little bit, but ultimately they know that because she is the balance, she's not entirely their puppet, so to speak.
Yeah. The other crowns are getting quite fed up with this at this point. But Yrselle ignores them, keeping her eyes locked on Diem as she tells her, quote, Take the Rosebane, use my key, heed my warnings, especially about my heir, and don't forget what you pledged to sacrifice to see your plans through. Burn of the Everflame in 5 sentences. I guarantee
Exactly,
you.
right?
Oh my God.
So use her key. This is the key to the Ambrose Crown's library that Diem has in her drawer in Luminos. So yes, I believe we will absolutely go back there and there will be something important there. We have discussed that a lot. I believe that there's information about Omnos in particular in there. Yrselle says to take the Rosebane, which, yes, the Rosebane. The only other time we have seen this word Rosebane in the whole series is Chapter 2 of Spark. Yes, friends, that is right. Chapter 2 of Spark was the last time we saw Rosebane on the page. Any other time that has been mentioned in this whole series. Let me refresh your memory about what is said about Rosebane. Quote, in the right dose, Rosebane just makes you a very teeny tiny bit temporarily insane. They used to call it God's Horn because those who survived it claimed they could talk directly to the gods. Diem is definitely going to talk to the gods in Burn of the Everflame, like we've been speculating.
Conference room, here we come!
My guess also is that it will be both the Kindred and the old gods, and she'll talk to the red-haired man of the Everflame or the Kindred. I don't think all together, but maybe like the red-haired man and the Kindred, but I could see it almost being like phases where it's like she first talks to one of them and then she talks to another one. And I also wonder if Diem will take this Rosebane at a dire time and it'll be when she's judged by the gods. Maybe the Rosebane is in the Ambrose library.
Oh, okay. So you think that the judgment won't be from death and she's like at the gates of whatever, and she is being judged based off of death. It's instead her being judged in the moment when she takes the rosebane. I like that way better.
Because that also makes me think back to, again, with the Four Toes Godstone cell and how she's like, it's something that I'm not supposed to know yet.
Yes.
I'm not worthy enough to know yet. I think that whatever happens with the rosebane is when she's going to be deemed worthy to know.
I agree. Oh,
and I think
love
that is going to be the big thing that all comes together with the balance, too, about how she then really embraces being the balance to restore everything.
Okay, so when do you think this is going to happen in Burn? Because I was really hoping that the rosebane would be early on, but I'm starting to doubt that. I think this is going to be more at like the 9 to 10 o'clock hour.
I agree. Yeah. If I had to guess, I'd say probably like 75% through the book.
I would say like right before the final battle occurs.
Yes.
Oh, God. I can't wait.
And of course, there's what Yrselle emphasizes about her heir, how they will be Diem's greatest adversary, and that Diem will need to sacrifice everything and be willing to do so. Okay, here's a crazy thought. What if Yrselle is not talking about Diem, and Lumnos, when referring to her faithful heir, is not referring to Luther? But there's some deeper meaning, because if we've learned anything from Penn, it is that things are not always what they seem. Who these heirs would be, I don't know, but it feels almost like too easy that we automatically, oh yeah, we know who the heirs are. What if we don't?
I think it's Diem. I think that there are many things in this book that have those double meanings. Daughter of the Forgotten, all of this kind of stuff. 10 or 11 must fall for one to rise. I think that the error that Yrselle is discussing, not Lumnos, Yrselle is discussing, given the fact that Diem ends up with the crown at the end of this chapter, I think that, in my opinion, is at least set in stone that it's Diem.
So then for the Lumnos faithful heir, do you believe that is absolutely without a doubt Luther?
Nope. I have no legs to stand on when it comes to that theory.
That right there is why, like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Because it's the same language with faithful heir.
Yes.
Yeah, that's honestly fair. I think that's I'm just going straight off of that's what my gut tells me.
So you're okay with, Diem having to, but you only don't want the faithful heir to be Luther because that means that Diem would have to die.
Yes, correct.
So that's what I'm saying, that I think that there could be a bigger meaning to this heir.
I don't know. This is a short answer. Yrselle twirls her fingers and Diem sees a flash of glittering black under her nails as Yrselle continues, quote, "I'm giving you the thing I value most, Diem Bellator. Use it wisely." Is she referring to her crown, her realm, her vote, her life, her trust, all of the above?
Yes, I think it's mostly her life, but with her life comes everything else. Her crown, her realm, her vote, her trust, all of that. And while Yrselle has known for a while that her end is coming, we can gather that this right here, she is aware that this will be her end. This will be her downfall. She knows what's about to happen next. She might value her life more than anything, but giving Diem the chance to overcome is even more important. And Yrselle knows the role she must play in all of this, like she said back in Umbros.
With her arms held out to her sides, she finally gives her vote. Quote, "My answer is yes." Fuck you, Doral. "I cast my vote in Diem's fit." Before she is cut off. No! Ignios has pierced Yrselle with a godstone blade right through her throat. Fuck you, Ignios!
Oh, Yrselle, you badass Umbros queen, you. What a way to go out, as much as we really wish you were not dead. Oh my gosh. If there's one character in this whole series that I wish was not dead, it was her, because with her death dies a lot of secrets. But I do think that is going to make the next book even more exciting. But I digress. I just loved her character so much. All of the hidden meanings and every single thing that she said. She is really terrifying and also seems like a really cool mentor at the same time. And she will just be dearly, dearly missed, especially by these two deep divers here. And I am also happy that we got some reassurance from Penn that some of her centenaries are still alive so that the magic of Umbros will continue on. But Yrselle, thank you so much for being the deep diver dream character. You are the best. We love you and will miss you. R.I.P. Yrselle, Queen of Umbros.
You impulsive fuck! In his mind, he just eliminated the 6th vote. Thus, Diem and her mother do not get their pardon that she just received when Yrselle voted yes, and Doral's plan can be fulfilled. Also, Yrselle has pissed off the Ignios King for years because of reasons. I do wonder if we're going to learn more about their feud in Burn, or if their feud is more that she's just a powerful woman who did whatever the fuck she wanted, and the Ignios King didn't like that. I'm leaning towards the latter.
That's what I've always guessed. Yrselle wasn't well liked in general because she doesn't give two fucks about the other crowns, and the King of Ignios especially doesn't like her because she's scary and powerful and does whatever she fucking wants.
We do know from Penn that we are going to be learning more about the realm as a whole of Ignios, so I wonder if that's going to be during Diem and Ignios' long walks on the beach while they're both.
Oh my God, Nicole. I think it's because Diem will be the crown of Ignios.
I think Diem would have to kill the Ignios King in order for that to happen.
He's already dying.
She's the cure who can save him.
Okay, we'll talk about all of that later. I might be willing to make a bet, though, with you.
Okay. You just want to make a bet that you want to win now.
But as the King of Ignios kills Yrselle, she is able to wrap her hand around his wrist. And what do you know? She has Godstone on her nails, like Nicole pointed out earlier. So little does Ignios know, in this moment, she just scratched him with a lethal poison. Touché, Yrselle. That's how you go down. I looked back through the Umbros chapters, and while Yrselle has a dark blade fastened to the edge of her nail, it was not made of Godstone. This Godstone that she has here on Kareel is inlaid between the sharpened points of her nails, not hurting her because it is not an open wound, but ready to kill for whoever gets her, and she can scratch them. Then the Godstone does get into a wound, and then it is fatal. Ignios is distraught when Diem points out his Godstone wound, ready for someone, even Diem, to chop his arm off before it can spread. But don't worry, you cowardly Ignios King. I love how he's like wailing, and oh no! And the other crowns are just like, oh my God, you idiot. The Sophos researchers have just found a cure for Godstone. Huh, you mean that poultice time when Diem created the poultice where she secretly mixed in some of her blood? Yep, the treatment worked for every single patient with Godstone. Holy shit, Diem is a cure to Godstone. This is right here is when she's really and truly knows for a fact that it worked. Ignios can come back to Sophos and get treated. He'll be fine. Imagine how crazy this is for these Descended, who have been searching for a cure to Godstone for generations. Now Sophos just has it, allegedly. I'm really looking forward to how this will unfold and Burn, because a cure to Godstone is priceless. And I have a feeling Doral and Sophos will quickly learn Diem is the key.
Yeah, and then they'll realize how badly they fucked up because the key is locked on an island. I mean, I guess, like, she's easy for them to find.
I was going to say, Doral does say that at one point, and they're like, well, at least we'll know where you are, when they were referring to Ophiuchi and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Oh, Doral. With Yrselle slumping down, her eyes fluttering closed, the ground begins to tremble. The fire on the Umbros obelisk hisses and goes out. The light disappears, and far away, a Gryvern wails in mourning. Side note, this is Diem's first Gryvern other than Sarai, because Montios and Fortos are both Gryvern-less. Anyway, back to this. A sharp pain presses into Diem's temples, crushing in on her. Uh-oh, we've seen this before. And two dark beams of light erupt into the sky. One from the Heartstone and one from Diem herself, the new Queen of Umbros.
With 4 crowns of her own, plus Sophos and Myrrhus' votes, Diem officially has the majority of 6 votes. It is certainly an unconventional way of getting the 6 votes, to put it mildly, but it doesn't matter according to the rules. 6 crown votes mean she and her mother are pardoned. Huzzah! It's so sweet and sad how this relief makes Diem so excited to go home and for her family to be reunited. Like, just because they are pardoned means these big problems will go away and she'll be free. Quote, I could rule my realms in peace and take control of the Amarian army. It's never that easy, though, Diem. And it's like, she does know this, but in this moment, she just feels so relieved. And it's just like, I just want to be normal. Like, just give me something normal.
Oh, don't start celebrating yet, Diem. Because Doral had a feeling that something like this, I'm assuming the something like this is Diem gets her pardon or she somehow gets 6 votes.
That's what I figured, yeah.
That one of the crowns would die and Diem would take the next one. They assumed that something like this would happen. And they wanted to have a backup plan, just in case. So out walks Teller into the temple, flanked by guards holding a blade pressed in on the youngest Bellator's neck. Will someone just let Teller be happy and make his own decisions and stop putting him in harm's way because of his sister? God damn it! Doral knew from Diem's threat about Teller's safety back in Sophos that Teller is a huge bargaining chip for Diem. If they threaten Teller, they will be able to bend Diem to their will, full stop. They have also been catching on to the pattern of Diem getting each new crown. So, should she get in striking range of any crown, they have ordered the guards to kill Teller on sight. So their plan B was simple. If Diem somehow gets the pardon and they can't imprison her, then they will imprison her with a threat against her brother's life.
Sophos brings a proposition to the other crowns. Rather than refreshing the forging spell for the coronation, like all crowns have done since the Blessed Kindred, how about they revise the forging spell to permanently secure the island from rebel control? So this is what Doral was researching while Diem and Luther were holed up in the library. Doral was researching every possible document the Kindred wrote about the forging spell. The Kindred built wards around the Heartstone to protect it from harm. This magic is already deadly. Real quick, I do think it is these wards that Diem felt at the end of Glow, when the magic was trying to repel her because it knew she was other.
I actually disagree, because when you said, I can't remember what episode it was, there was a moment where you mentioned it was trying to repel her because it knew her blood would free Ophiuchi. And it was almost like fate saying, don't do it.
Oh, I don't think it was necessarily fate. I think that it was the Heartstone knowing that it was bound to this spell that would free Ophiuchi.
Oh, okay. So Nick's fate, insert wards, and still same sentiment. Cool. Okay, we're on the same page.
So what Doral wants to do is expand these protection wards to cover the entire island, not just the Heartstone. And this will unleash the full extent of these magical defenses by killing anyone, mortal or descended, who's on Correal without a crown. After all, the Kindred gave their future crowns the power to modify the forging spell as long as they act unanimously. Quote, they wouldn't have done that if they didn't trust us to use it. That's what Doral says. What if Diem will end up with all the crowns and modify the forging spell or break it entirely because she will be the unanimous crowns? We'll talk more about that here shortly, but bottom line is Doral does not seem to trust the only crowns because the Kindred don't seem to trust these other crowns, their crowns even. Only Diem is trusted because they are giving her every new crown, and they are having to trust that she will make the right decisions, like we were saying earlier.
But if the Heartstone's wards are expanded fully, that means everyone who is not a crown will be dead by sunset, which is literally in minutes, if not seconds. There's an indiscernible amount of guardians on the island right now. Should they be here after sunset, they will die from this new Heartstone ward expansion. I am going to strongly assume that there is at least one or two guardians who did not get off the island, either via Arboros boat or Fortos boat, and Diem is weaponless and without supplies. And I'm not saying loot the bodies, but they probably had weapons and food, which would be wildly helpful for Diem as she's stuck on the island. I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate. I'm sorry. But
That's not quite the take there, Nicole.
Anyway, it's not just the mortals who would be killed with these new wards. It is also the descended. So when Luther and co appear on the island in just a few minutes, this is why Diem is so terrified for them to get away now. These wards will kill them too. It's descended or mortal, just not crown. It is also Gryvern, notably. So no Gryvern can fly overhead. So Doral, Diem, Obannarin, Ignios, Phanos, Arboros, and Ophiuchi can come into the island. He has a crown.
He does, but I don't know if he counts. The 9 crowns cast the spell, because Diem technically does not have the 10th crown, Ophiuchi does. And the spell could make it only those 9 crowns. Like, again, like thinking about the forging magic and all of that, how it's only supposed to have 9 crowns. I'm guessing he will be able to come to the island, but maybe something weird will happen to him. Like it weakens him because he is recognized as a crown and other. Like, again, I keep thinking about like the Forgotten Lands, about how that magic does not want to be part of Montios, right? Or maybe, I totally envision this, that Ophiuchi feels like he's wading through super thick magic, like he's not supposed to be here.
Oh, how interesting. See, I was thinking that, yes, he was not part of this 9 unanimous decision, But since he still has a crown, he is part of this forging magic, full stop. But I love this idea that there's a cost to him also. It's not just easy peasy lemon squeezy. I really like that. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like we've been saying, though, part of this forging spell also binds Diem to the island. Quote, may she never again leave these shores. Well, oh dear, that feels very final. And as Diem notes, not like there's any loopholes. Again, I think that loophole is foreshadowing for the bonded bargain that she and Doral had. But Doral is not wanting to punish Diem forever. What makes her a threat is her extreme power and her connection to Ophiuchi. So once when the other crowns destroy Ophiuchi, they'll readjust the forging spell so Diem can leave. She'll just have no magic anymore because she did not follow through with her end of the bonded bargain, which is to be the one to kill Ophiuchi. Supposedly. Again, there's that language that we really have to be mindful of. This shows that Doral truly thinks they are doing what is best for Amarian at this time. But also, remember how Yrselle has said that the crowns, they have big egos, they think they are all powerful, they have hubris, and how humbled they were when they almost lost the war. These crowns think that they will be able to eliminate Ophiuchi because they are used to being the apex predator. But Ophiuchi, as Diem is trying to tell them, is an entirely different beast that they are no match for, not even all combined. And yet, these crowns, they're not even thinking about how they are going to kill Ophiuchi. It's just like, yeah, no, like, we'll take care of him. It'll be fine. Diem, we don't need you. And it just is really showing, again, how much history is repeating itself.
Doral steps up to the cracked heartstone and begins the ritual. Taking out the ritual dagger, Doral sheds their blood on the stone and starts to recite the script. Quote, with this spell, we bind Diem Bellator to this island. May she never again leave these shores. Again, woof, that's pretty permanent. But Doral isn't done. Quote, from the setting of this day's sun, may the heartstone strike dead any person who steps foot on this island, or any beast who flies over its borders, except for the 9 crowns of Amarian. So again, Gryverns cannot even fly over the island, let alone step foot. There goes Diem's being able to contact either of her Gryverns, because yes, again, she has 2 now. Doral claims that this is for the safety of the crowns, as now Sarai can't attack any of them when they, come to the islands for the rituals. Now, I'm going to just put in a little loophole here, Doral, because Sarai could technically attack them on their way to the island, like as they're speeding through on the boats of various sizes. But that's just my brain again trying to find loopholes that knowing Diem won't take them. Each of these remaining crowns, Miros, Arbros, Phanos, Ignios, step forward to bleed onto the Heartstone before it's finally Diem's turn. Instead of handing Diem the dagger, Doral sets the dagger down on the pedestal and steps out of Diem's reach. Remember, she can't be in striking distance of any of the crowns or else her brother will pay the price. When Diem grabs the dagger, she struggles with cutting her hand to finish the spell. Her blood has to be freely given in order for this new forging magic to work. And right now, she's not freely giving it. She's trapped between a rock and a hard place. But when she looks into Doral's eyes and sees that they truly believe that this is what they believe is needed to save the realm, that is enough for her to do this willingly. Also, knowing that she's saving her brother is nice too. And she's able to slice her palm. This time, when the stones on the dagger turn gray, there's no thunder, no earthquake, no splitting of a giant rock, only the hissing of her blood as it falls and melts into the stone. A glowing orb at the center of the Heartstone releases a blinding pulse of light that shoots out in a ring across the island. God, I can see this so vividly. Diem's body fills with energy as it passes over her, binding her to her fate and the island.
At least Doral eventually does agree not to force Diem into the Godstone cell. That is what they initially were like, you got to go in the cell there, Diem. And she's like, excuse me? What? Doral alone among these living crowns understands Diem's terror of facing the same fate that her sire had. We can gather that this Godstone cell destroyed whatever humanity Ophiuchi had. So when he emerged, all he had was a need for vengeance. And Diem does not want to become like that. She knows that feeling is within her. She has felt it before. We were saying last episode how she recognizes this feeling of hers in her sire. It's not until Diem begs Doral that she does not want to become like him that Doral relents. So the compromise is Diem must stay in the temple until everyone else is off the island, and she must disarm her weapon. Well, shoot, she was going to need that for hunting and, killing the crowns the moment they came back for the next ritual. How dare you Catch that, Doral.
And break. With sunset only seconds away, Diem screams to tell the Guardians on the island that they need to leave. Leave now.
They need to head south. Head south. Run, Guardians, run. In other words, they need to head toward the Arborist port where the Queen will help them get off the island and not just be running into the hands of the army.
But her eyes drift to the horizon where 3 men are running for her. Teller, who apparently outran the Sophos guards, and Luther and Perth. I am assuming that Perth found Luther moments after Doral and Diem took off for Kareel, and Perth told Luther on the docks about Teller's capture, and Luther was confirmed that something was off and something was about to go down. So they snuck on a boat and made it to Kareel.
Or going back to how Luther looked down and at his palm and then looked at Doral and was frowning and all of that, I bet he felt like something was wrong, and so he went to go check on Teller or something, and Perth was, and it's like, oh my God, yep, my assumptions were right, go, yeah.
Yep, I think you're right.
But oof, Luther being safely away from here was the one thing Diem had going for her. But now, moments before this becomes literally a death zone, her love is here. Never seen something so bittersweet, huh? Doral and their guards are chasing after Teller to get him to come back into their clutches. Yes, he did escape from them, he was able to fight his way out. But that sun is almost set, and there just is not enough time. Doral recognizes their loss, that they're not going to be able to catch up to Teller and get him before the sun sets. And with an apologetic look at Diem, they abandon the chase, leaving Teller to die on the island so that they and their guards can get the fuck out of here. It's just Diem, Teller, Luther, and Perth now, and they don't have enough time to get back to the Lumnos port, which is a 20-minute walk away. I'm also not sure if there's even a boat over at the Lumnos port anymore, but that's neither near here nor there.
With all hope lost, Diem is shattering. Her loyal guard, her prince, and her brother are all going to die, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Until thump, thump, Sarai is here to the rescue! But Sarai has been chained up under Remus's control in Lumnos. So how the hell did she get here so fast? We don't technically know, major air quotes, but Luther says, quote, "It worked. It actually worked. I didn't think ... Like I discussed earlier, I am convinced this is because their mating bond. Luther is one half of Diem's soul now, which based off this line seems like he can also call Sarai just like Diem can, which means he might be able to do that with the Umbros Gryvern too?
I actually don't think so. And I think there's going to be a nuance there with the Lumnos magic a little bit, because Luther is connected to Lumnos, and there is kind of automatically a little bit more
like a Terramare.
Yeah, almost like layers to the Terramare there. But I don't know. I'm gonna guess no though.
I'm 50-50. I'm not sure.
Okay. But yes, when he's like, oh, it actually worked. I mean, what else could this possibly mean? Perhaps Ulthar had told Luther a story about how his mate could call Sarai. So when Luther knew Diem was in danger, he automatically thought to call Sarai, therefore giving her enough time to get to Kareel.
I think you are so right. Oh my gosh. With Sarai as a very convenient getaway Gryvern, Luther, Teller, and Perth have seconds before they have to mount her and get far, far away from the island. Which also means this is goodbyes. Teller's is simple. Diem tells him, which is unsurprising, to go get their mother and then go get his girl. He doesn't technically agree to this, but we do know he at least followed through on the first ask because of the first 3 chapters in Diem. Teller is in the Arboros Guardian camp with Arlie. Diem tells Perth to save her brother. Pretty simple. And then there's Luther, which these two only have a quick moment to kiss, and for Luther to say, quote, "Stay strong, my queen. No force in the world will keep me from you forever." Applauding Luther for not insisting on staying with her and dying at her side, because I'm pretty sure at the first half of this book he would have done that. But we know from the first 3 chapters of Burn that while this is the right move, he is obviously insistent on getting back to his girl.
When Sarai gets to the island, her sights are set on saving Diem. It's not until Diem shouts her orders for Sarai to save the others that her beloved Gryvern changes course and heads for Luther, Teller, and Perth instead. Earlier in this book, Diem wondered whether Sarai would obey her order to save Luther instead of her, or would Sarai be required by the bond to save Diem instead. And I didn't realize the foreshadowing was for this book, this situation right here. And yep, as much as it hurts Sarai, she listens and focuses on saving the others. Diem has to watch in pure agony as the three men sprint towards Sarai, just seconds away from sunset right now. And Sarai's legs are almost touching the ground at this point. Remember, Gryverns already cannot touch the soil from the original foraging magic spell, the Kindred cast. One wrong move, and not only Sarai is dead, all three of these men are dead because they have no way of getting off the island. At the very last second, Perth yells something at Luther, and Luther agrees. They both grab Teller and throw him into the air, right into Sarai's talons, securing Teller's safety. But time is running out. Teller reaches down, and one of his hands grabs Perth's wrist. The other grabs Luther, but Luther is slipping from Teller's grasp. In this moment, Diem is terrified that she's going to lose the man who swore to be her equal, the person who accepts all of her, who loves her, and the man that she wants to have be her mate.
Oh, I'm so scared. Right as Luther begins to fall, Teller releases his grip from Perth and securely grabs Luther's as Sarai launches up into the sky. But sadly, this means Perth crashes into the ground. In his final moments, Perth faces Diem and places his fist over his chest and drops to one knee. Diem returns the gesture, lowering her head in a final salute to her most faithful guard. And as the last rays of sunset disappear over the horizon, another pulse of light emanates from the Heartstone across the island, and Perth's body slumps to the ground. Sacrificing himself for the happiness of his queen, knowing the two people she loves most have made it to safety. Something we all knew he was willing to give his final breaths for. Quote, "I'm gonna live in Delulu land where Perth survives. Thank you very much, B."
Our dearest Perth, leaving this world doing exactly what he swore to do for Diem, protect her and her loved ones. He knew that there was no way for Teller to hold both him and Luther, and Perth was willing to say, "I'm okay to go. You need to get Luther, and you two need to get out of here safely." Perth, my boy! He was the goodest of good boys, the most loyal guard there ever was. He may have been from House Bennett, but he saw the kindness and heart in Diem and chose to dedicate his life to her and her safety. Just as she saved him in the Bennett Armory explosion, he sacrificed himself for her and her loved ones. Perth served his queen well. He served her brother well and never let harm fall upon him, except for that one time that Teller did get kidnapped. But see, Perth fixed it. It has been his honor.
Oh!
Perth, my boy, we will never forget you.
Diem watches as Sarai circles the island. She hates that she's stuck here, but she is so thankful that her brother and her love are still living. Diem thinks to herself that because Luther is still alive, the future they plan for with their goats, it is not lost. She commits herself to him, to them, and she knows that he'll be out there fighting for her, so she will do everything to fight just as hard to get back to him. And she plans to tell him everything, that she is his and he is hers, now and always. She wants to tell him that she wants to be bound to him forever, not just in life, but in eternity. Diem states that the very first chance that she gets when she's off this island, she will offer up her blood. She will tell him that she's ready to be his mate. But Diem doesn't even get to finish the sentence before thunk. She is stabbed right through the center of her heart with a long, glittering black stone blade. When this happens, Diem's vision blurs and she feels a pressure building inside her against her ribs as liquid warmth trails down her chest. In a moment after seeing this blade sticking out of her chest, Diem notes that dying feels rather differently than she thought. Death is supposed to be cold and lonely, your life flashing before your eyes, reliving your biggest regrets. But Diem says that while this is painful, it feels warm. There's that word again. She feels a searing agony through every nerve, and her heart feels like it's being ripped in half, like a mating bond. Quote, but there was an unexpected pleasure in it too, a particular rightness, a feeling like I just gained something I desperately wanted. And then when the throbbing stops, the pain is replaced with a calm, comforting, eternal peace. Oh, God! God.
So I think we're both willing to die on the hill that Diem and Luther are absolutely officially mates now, right?
Yep.
When us readers first read this part, we are so disoriented because Diem was just stabbed and it seems like she's dying. Again, like that warmth trailing down her chest. It sounds like it's blood, right? But reading it again and again and again, the lines that read like her accepting death, they're off. Like they're not quite right. Exactly what Nicole was saying. Right before Diem was stabbed, she was silently declaring Luther to be her mate and how deep her love for him is. And a feeling that she gained that she desperately wants. What has she wanted all this book? Luther. They're mates. I'm convinced.
I have nothing to even add. Yes, full stop. They are mates. Die on the hill, large hill. I will be willing to die on a very, very large hill, very dramatically, that this is exactly what's going to happen. But now this whole, I'm going to tell him the first instance I get when I see him again, it does make me think that the mates reveal is probably going to be like, I'm assuming a third of the way into the book. I feel like that's when they're finally going to see each other again.
I agree, yeah. I think we'll definitely be getting a lot of hints about it beforehand. But yeah.
Now, as Penn kept lovingly reminding us during the Everflame ball, Diem is dead. But I'm sorry, Penn, we don't agree. So let's go through the reasons why we strongly believe Diem is very much going to be alive when we see her in Burn. Number one, just from a storytelling standpoint, having the main FMC die when there is still a whole hunk of a book, it's just implausible, especially given how many loose ends there are to tie up. Number two, now to the lore reasons. Diem has already been cut with Godstone and didn't die. It didn't affect her in any way different than a regular cut. So we know that Godstone itself is not deadly to Diem from the challenging. Now, did she get stabbed all the way through the heart? Not necessarily. But who did get stabbed all the way through the heart? Ophiuchi. Who's still alive? Ophiuchi! Which brings me to number three, and I think the reason we're both also willing to die on this hill. This right here is everything I need to be convinced that Diem will not die. Her sire, whose magic is extraordinarily similar to her own, was stabbed through the heart with a Godstone blade and lived. And he also did it on an island where he did not have his magic in a Godstone cell. So ergo, Diem will live as well. Now, whether it's because of her blood magic or something else entirely, I don't know, but I'm really fucking ready to learn.
Also, with the way Ignios says, it's the last line of the whole book, quote, but the flames always win in the end. Diem is the flames. So yeah, she will win in the end. During last year's book club with Penn Cole, she said that there was a scene in Burn where Luther and the King of Ignios confront each other, which assumably meant they were going to see each other again, right? Now, we also understand that there have been changes to Burn since then, as she has been continuing to write. So I don't want to hold that as an absolute fact anymore. Taking that teaser from last June out of the equation, I can see a world in which Diem does let the King of Ignios die. Sure, she doesn't want to fight hate with hate, but she isn't personally killing him. She's just not bothering to save him. I don't see how this Ignios king could become a martyr like her reasoning for keeping Vance alive. Maybe Diem doesn't want the Ignios crown, but with it, she would have 5 crowns. Then she would only need 1 other vote for these majorities. Not like that really matters anymore, though, as Doral made clear. Even if the other crowns don't care, her having these crowns has to account for something. And let's admit it, Diem does like her power. It wouldn't be the first descended king she's killed, either. So that comment Penn said aside, I don't think Diem will save the Ignios king. Now, if we do take that comment that she said into account, then yes, obviously that means that the Ignios king will survive at least long enough to have a confrontation with Luther at least 1 month later. We also know that we are going to learn a lot more about the Ignios warrior women in Burn. So I like this idea of Diem becoming the realm's queen and commanding this badass female army that ends up fighting for her. However, with Diem's blood being the cure to Godstone wounds, I can see the Ignios king doing something like collapsing and his wounds mixing with her blood. And then he's healed and he's got his own, wahaha, the kindred don't want me dead yet attitude. So do I think that she will purposefully save him? No, but I do think that she might accidentally save him. I'm going to say the Ignios king does not make it off this island alive. Again, I definitely could see her blood healing him simply from accidental contact. But I'm going to hope.
I don't think it's going to be accidental. I think she's going to watch him and let him die out naturally. I think it's going to
That's what I'm saying, too. That is what I'm saying, is that she will not purposefully heal him, is what I'm saying here. If he stays alive, it is because he accidentally got her blood on him, on his wrist.
I have an idea. What if, because we know that there's this rule that mates are allowed to see their other mate if they are imprisoned. Let's say somehow, some way, this new casting of the foraging magic has that loophole included. Luther would then be able to come to Kirill, talk to Ignios as he's dying. There's that scene that Penn was alluding to.
Except we know that burn starts a month later, and I don't know if the King of Ignios would make it a whole month.
So we do know that Luther's was massively expedited because of reasons from the gods. But also that was only a week, so who knows? Who knows is the real answer. We might not have to watch the King of Ignios die. So whether or not she saves the Ignios King is one thing. It all boils down to this one big question. How the fuck is Diem gonna get off this island? First up, she is magically bound to it. But I have an idea. What if when she's stabbed with Godstone, it's like the magical tie is fulfilled? She was bound to it for her life. So what if somehow she dies and is resurrected and it's a new life? I'm still working out the kinks on that one.
How would that have worked for Ophiuchi?
Another option is that she magically changes the magic that keeps her here, especially if she is a kindred and has all the power of the Everflame. She could technically supersede the magic that needs all 9 crowns to make an agreement in order to change the foraging spell and the magic associated with the Heartstone. We know from Umbros that the stronger magic always prevails, so that could definitely qualify. Now that would be a lot of guessing on Diem's part.
I do think that with Diem being on this island with the Heartstone, I think she will at minimum try something. Yeah. But can she do anything just on her own? That's the big question. Will the kindred somehow intervene? Will she find something here on the island that helps her tap into her Everflame? We've talked about that too. Will the flame root have something to do with it? I don't know.
What if Yrselle on her person? Because again, that's another body she can loot. What if she has Rosebane?
Yeah, that's possible.
But then that would also mean Diem is taking Rosebane way earlier in the story than we assumed. God, I feel like we're back in Period. I fucking love this.
I do too. I do think that with the key, take the Rosebane and use the key. I think that those are a little bit connected.
Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I do think that somehow, some way, the Heartstone and adjusting the magic is going to be a major culprit in her getting off the island. Now, yes. You mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to throw it in here as well as a possibility, but I do consider it highly unlikely. What if in the month plus from the end of Heat to the beginning of Burn, all the crowns die, Diem is able to cast the unanimous vote because she holds all the power of the 9 crowns. If Doral dies off page, I'm gonna be pissed. Everyone else, I could see them. Well, maybe not Arboros, but for the most part, Phanos and Miros, I could see them dying off page. Doral dying off page would be a tragedy.
I think that would be too easy of a solution. Yeah. I keep going back to magic, foraging spell. Like, there is just too much goodness with all of that already on the island.
Yeah.
I also want to throw out Foraging Day is coming up in 3 or 4 months? That feels like a very long time with how fast our timeline has been so far, but the crowns do have to return to this island at some point. Or maybe Sophos realizes she was the cure for Godstone and returns, and that sets off some kind of chain of reaction. Or maybe there will be a terrible fight with Ophiuchi, and the crowns realize they do in fact need her. Again, it all just feels so straightforward. I'm going with Heartstone having to do with how she gets off, and, maybe this. Diem will figure out how to use her alternative magic here that is separate from the foraging magic. Because Remember back when we were first introduced to the Heartstone, they were saying that the Heartstone serves as a conduit between the 2 types of magic in this world. One type of magic is within each descendant's blood. That is the different types of magic that they have that is connected to their godhood. And then there is a separate kind of magic that is literally the magic of this world. That is what makes all of the realms have like their borders, and it's what is connecting to the crowns and their Terramare and all of that kind of stuff. That she might still be able to tap into. So what if that is what she uses here, and she figures out how to be able to use that other kind of magic?
And she would be making a lot of assumptions and going with the flow and hoping everything turns out okay. But that is Diem also. That's a very Diem move.
And being near the Heartstone, what if it starts like calling to her or something like that, where it's almost like tempting her to use it?
Yeah. I definitely think Heartstone is going to equal Diem getting off the island. Somehow, some way. I love this idea that she taps into this new type of magic.
I also want to point out, too, that the Everflame tree used to be here, and its soil has life-giving powers, and Diem was born here. So it's almost like she is back at her Terre-Mare.
Yes,
In
exactly.
its own way. Yes. Okay. In this magic-fueled segment of the episode, let's tap into our Umbros magic and turn our full attention to, well, not necessarily foreshadowing moments for the rest of this book because we're done with it, but let's just open the floor up for any more speculations for Book 4, Burn of the Everflame.
Very important question for my boy who loves showers. Will Luther get the ultimate Sophos shower experience in Lumnos at the end of Burn? This does lead to a greater question, though, because I do think the answer is yes to that. After the war, do you think there's going to be the nixing of this rule that Sophos inventions are not allowed to leave the realm, especially if this one to rise is one unified Amarian to rise? I think that rule is going to be nixed entirely, and everyone gets showers.
I like to think so. I also will be very curious about how it'll happen, because that calls into question how these Sophos inventions will reach, say, the mortals, who might not have the same monetary funds that Luther does. Or perhaps these inventions will specifically help mortals throughout the realms who do not have the same access to magic that the Descended have. And it's like the Descended will start giving instruments with magic in them to the mortals to create a little bit more equality in that way.
Oh, I love that. Next one. Am I the only one who's deeply worried about this line from Luther? Quote, "Death itself could not keep me away from you."
Okay, Nicole, you cannot be upset with what I'm about to say.
I'm going to be. I know what you're going to say. I'm reading it in the outline, and I hate you a little bit for it.
This whole passage makes me terrified for Luther, because a little bit before that part that you just read, we get this paragraph from Diem's inner monologue. Quote, "I no longer dreaded what I might have to sacrifice. Luther would never demand anything of me I was not willing to give. If the gods did, then so be it. I'd sacrifice it all to keep him at my side." This chapter 72 has way too much foreshadowing that Luther will be the sacrifice Diem has to make. But I believe that because of their connection and because of the bonded bargain with Mother Lumnos, and with them being two parts of one soul, assuming they're mated by the end of this book, it will somehow bring him back. Like, no way Penn would permanently kill off Luther, right? Like,
Don't you say those words! Don't you say it! I'm changing the subject. Luther saying to Diem that, quote, "If something goes wrong on the island again, you won't have your magic to rely on." First and foremost, boy, was he very on the nose. But also, Diem only had an apple before leaving. Girl's gotta be hungry. We are back with a very familiar blade. We have talked endlessly on the pod about the Sophos dagger that looks just like Andre's murder weapon, with only a few notable differences that we talked about in that episode of Glow. I still believe that it was the Guardians, more specifically Vance, who was the murderer, and the reason they used the Sophos blades was because they intercepted a shipment from House Bennett to Sophos, who we know from both parties those shipments have been disrupted by who? Oh yeah, the Guardians.
The Guardians easily could have taken weapons intended for Sophos because they know that Sophos and House Bennett have very good relations.
But the reason this is such an important moment in the story is because Diem is playing, at least in my opinion, this is in my theory head, Diem would be playing right into what the Guardians wanted. By using a descended weapon to kill Andre, they planted seeds that there could be an accusation for the descended, either House Bennett, who made the weapon, or on the Sophos descended.
Yes, and I also think that Penn purposefully is misleading us here. She said that the answer is obvious to her in Glow, not Heat. Glow. If she said that the answer is obvious in Heat, I 100% would have gone with one of the 20 houses, or several of the 20 houses, including Gareth from Lumnos. But because she's so specific with Glow, I think that it might be something from the murder scene itself. It's just, oh my God, it's so hard. Like, I am 85% sure it was the Guardians.
Oh, I'm like 102.
I'm not willing to make a bet on that, though.
I figured 85 is a little too much to pressure you into a bet. 70, though,
I
will take that advantage.
I do really wonder, though, if Gareth had something to do with it. If a Descended had something to do with it, I would think it would be him.
I could see that. I definitely agree
And
with
the
that.
Hanoveres.
But I still definitely believe it was the Guardians.
Penn, during our Q&A with her at the Everflame ball, she said that, yes, we will find out who killed Andre. And when the truth comes out, she said, Basically, yes, people are going to want to make things right.
Which, again, going back to the wording in the bonded bargain that Doral and Diem made. If this man who's in charge of it that Doral is referring to is Vance in some twisted way with this bonded bargain, that would be shit goes down, in my opinion. During the Crown's voting, Diem says that if they don't pardon her and her mother, the Guardians won't let them back on the island and the forging spell will break down and all of the borders will disappear. We've been very open about this one to rise being a united Marian to rise up after the blood has been spilt. Diem says to Doral, quote, "What have you done? My mother swore to the Guardians that they'd be safe. They'll never trust her now. You're going to run the rebels right into his arms," his meaning Ophiuchi. Considering the opening 3 chapters of Burn, we're already seeing this. I am deeply worried how many Guardians are going to be running to Ophiuchi in this month from the end of this book into the beginning of the next. Deeply concerned. Now it is time to enter the Sophos Library, where each episode Lexi guides us through a world building topic to help us deepen our understanding of this world and its magic. The last one.
I know, and for once we're not doing realms because today's Sophos Library topic is mating bonds. Finally, I'm so excited. So first things first, let's be clear that a mate is not the same as a husband or wife. For Descended, marriage is a ceremony to exchange rings and vows. They can get married for any reason, politics, alliances, money, etc., and they can remarry as often as they would like. But a mate is so much more. A mating bond is a magical bond between 2 souls that can only be made by true love. A Descended mate is the person someone wants to spend forever with. Descended do not give their heart away unless they are certain, beyond all doubt, that the person they choose will stand by their side no matter what fate the kindred has in store for them. When a pair is mated, their hearts are bound to their mate for eternity, and they can never love anyone else. Even if their mate dies, they will never take another lover or look at a Descended in the same way that they love their mate. Take King Ulther, for example. His mate died less than a month after his coronation, and he never remarried or took a lover after that. Not even to produce children, nothing. You just don't do that if you were mated before. This is due to the legacy of the kindred's choice to give up their immortality for their mortal lovers. Being mated isn't just a relationship, it changes you physically. These 2 people become 2 halves of a whole. When mates are separated for too long, they can get ill. There's even rumors that they can die from the separation from their mate. This interconnectedness does not stop at death. When a mate dies, they stay in limbo until the other half joins them. Then their worthiness is judged together as a single soul. This notion of mates has been romanticized within Descended culture. There is no greater joy that someone could experience than being so deeply connected to the one you love, even beyond death. Mates are also able to sense one another's emotions, and the bond is so sacred that it is respected by all Descended, no matter the realm. Even if someone's mate is imprisoned, the other is permitted to access them. It's believed that to separate mates is an insult to the kindred themselves. But just because 2 mates decide they want to attempt the mating ritual does not guarantee a bond. The bonding magic only works if the love is genuine and unconditional, and if the Descended is freely committed to standing by their mate forever in life and in death. More on this shortly. As far as we know, only Descended are able to mate with other Descended, with the exception of the kindred mating their mortal lovers. We don't know if there was any kind of special bond that happened with them and their mates, but the kindred always referred to their mortal lovers as their mates, so that is how we will refer to them too. And thanks to the twins of House Burnham, we know that blood relatives can also mate each other. Being a Descended of power and having a mate can add a layer of complication for political reasons. Poor King Ulther is a prime example of this, as his mate was used against him as a ploy for power by one of the Luminos houses because his mate was an easy target. Let's go on to the details of the ritual. The mating ceremony is pretty simple and straightforward. The ritual requires the potential mates to shed a drop of blood and commit their hearts for all eternity. We can assume that mating vows range, like it's not like you have to have set mating vows in order to secure this bond, but it really is what you feel from your heart and being able to express that. Like when Luther tells Diem he won't be torn away from her by any force in life or in death, Diem thinks about how those words are awfully close to the promises Descended make at their mating ceremonies. If the magic determines their love to be true and unconditional, then the bond is formed and the mating mark appears where they bled. We know that there is also an adjustment period to the bond after being mated. Elix implies that there is a possessiveness between the pair, and Taryn jokes about them not being able to keep their hands off of each other. We also know that Descended can mate across realms, but this does add a few complications. As we saw with the mated centenary from Umbros, one mate will always be yearning for their home realm. Let's go back to those mate marks. We've only seen one mate mark on the page, on the wrist of one of the centenaries, but it is noted that all marks look similar. The mark looks like a shimmering tattoo, and the symbol is an intricate knot of swirling lines that resemble two hearts forging into a dagger. It has a dull, silvery shimmer, but when the centenary runs a finger across it, it pulses with a soft, warm glow. I love this magic so much. When either mate touches their mark, the other one can feel it, and both flare brighter with the touch. So as we're talking about mating bonds and all of that, we also have to mention what happens if the ritual does not work. Because yes, there is a chance that the bond does not click into place. The love between the two potential mates is deemed unworthy of a bond. And apparently this happens all the time. Couples get up to do the right and it just doesn't work because one or both of them doesn't truly love the other one. Because of this, it's not uncommon for couples to test the right first in private to avoid the potential embarrassment with a whole bunch of other people around. If one person does complete the bond, usually the other person does too. But if that does not happen and only one person shows their true love and the other one fails to, this is called a stranded mate. It is torture for the one who bonded because they are forced to be near their partner, to feel their pain, and are never able to love anyone else but their partner. It's like all of the worst things about having a mate and none of the benefits. It is seen as the worst fate one could possibly imagine. And as usual, there you have it. I never end these on a positive note, do I? But I just love the mating bond so much. And I am 100% sure that we saw both Luther and Diem do the mating bond separately at this end of the book.
Let us close out this episode, and for the last time, at least for now, skip around the apple orchard and discuss our favorite moments from this stretch of chapters. This is so small, but I love it when Luther is undressing Diem for the showers and he reaches for her pendant and she tells him to leave it because he gave that to her and she just wants to. I just think that's so sweet.
Stuart and Luther's interaction on the way to the surprise library trip makes me cackle every single time. The ongoing joke about titles comes back, and Stuart dishing sass right back to Luther about how he shouldn't say things like that. And especially that being how Luther said maybe he should punish her right here in the street.
Yeah,
after all. And it's like, oh my God. Stuart's like, but she's a queen. And Luther is about ready to murder this teen boy. Like, just Stuart. I love you. I adore you.
I love how your voice that you just gave, Stuart, is exactly how I read him in my head. But she's a queen! As Luther is walking Diem through the library, blindfolded, she believes there's a bunch of Sophos scholars watching a queen get escorted and then spanked in the middle of a room. And you know what? She doesn't hate it. Even though there's no people actually here because of, the possible roof collapse, I low-key love this little detail that Diem is into people watching her and Luther. It feels so on brand for Diem's character, and I also love that Luther just plays along. You didn't think I was done talking about the sex scene, did you? Ha ha ha! Think again. Some of my favorite moments I did not include earlier are Diem telling Luther that she wants him to dominate her, make her serve him. What a callback to Diem mentioning all her previous lovers allowed her to take over in the bedroom and how she enjoyed feeling powerful, but she loves sharing that power with Luther. Diem saying that their explosion was, quote, violent in the best kind of way, both of us allowing our most savage desires to run free, safe within the bounds of mutual trust. I just love this line because this is what Diem has been missing. It's that trust factor with her partners. And when they both finish, we get a moon watch because as all the kindred magic escapes her, his magic seeps into her, leaving, quote, my skin moon bright. Ah! And lastly, when they are finished, Diem begins tearing through the books and Luther tends to the room, cleaning her up, covering her in blankets, and then wedging himself behind her as they both read and he strokes her hair. This is my dream. That sounds amazing. I'm a puddle.
I love Diem's reaction to becoming the Queen of Umbros, especially her maniacal laughter. But she also says something very interesting. You fucking traitors! You kindred cursed pieces of shit! Kindred cursed? Could this be a nudge for us to figure out what the curse is? And also, I do think, kindred cursed, these crowns are cursed in that they are, I'll say, the last crowns of their realm before this next era of the world. As we wrap up our deep dive, for now, of the Kindred's Curse saga, I'd love for us to share some final thoughts about the series as we say goodbye to it, again, for now.
I knew this book was going to be fun to deep dive but I had no idea just how connected I would feel to the story at the end of it. These last few episodes especially, I mentioned this earlier, it feels almost Empyrean level theory searching and uncovering, which has been so fun. This is what we love about our jobs.
I wholeheartedly agree. I have so much respect for how Penn tells the story, weaving in lore and history directly tied to these characters and the present conflict. Theorizing is one of our favorite things to do. It's at the root of these deep dives, and Kindred's Curse is masterful with bringing little details together throughout the books that give us so much opportunity to theorize and speculate what's next, what it all means. I've had so much fun using my brain with all this creative problem solving. It's fantastic.
I have also loved getting to analyze these characters who are not perfect. And I really like that because I enjoy looking through their POV even when we are giving them capital L's, smiting L's, 9-point little font L's.
I especially love doing the Henry hats because it did help me gain more appreciation for him and his perspective.
Yeah.
All jokes aside with the crazy hats, I felt like it was really important for us readers to look at the Guardian's POV, especially with Henry. And it challenges the reader about these black and white concepts and how things aren't usually that simple.
I would have probably died on a hill before this deep dive that Henry was bad. He's not going to get a redemption arc, yada, yada, yada. And now I have an extremely different point of view of him. I think he is absolutely getting a redemption arc. I see his role in the story as the importance that Penn has really urged us to believe that he is. But there is this unexpected surprise, I'll say, that has come with deep diving such a politically dense book in times that we are living in right now. I have learned a lot from Diem and the Descended and the Guardians that has deeply affected me in how I am interacting with the world right now. And long story short, that was a gift I did not expect to receive from these deep dives.
I agree. This is a fantasy series that explores societal systems, oppression, unity, us versus them. And it has been very reflective and very on the nose sometimes. And I think it's been really valuable for us as deep divers, for our listeners. And I know that it is really something that Penn felt was very important to capture as she was writing it and now in our hands here. I've also just loved Penn's involvement in this deep dive. These phone pens have been the best additions, and we've heard from you too how much you love them, and we truly appreciate her time and contribution. Kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about just how masterful these Easter eggs are and everything like that, one of my biggest takeaways is the concept and importance of balance. Yeah. And in a first read, it's like, yeah, like you kind of think about balance. But like, it's like, oh my gosh, after this deep dive, I really believe that is the core of all of this. And I'm just so excited to see where Byrne takes us.
Overall, I am really going to miss Amarian. I am obviously really going to miss my boy Luther, and I'm going to miss these theories. But most of all, I'm really going to miss these richly gray areas of this world and how there is so little clear good or bad.
Yes, all of that. And I can't wait for us to have one more book that's, in the future here. I'm so excited for Byrne. I'm also very, very nervous, but only because I know our hearts are going to get ripped out. But all this theorizing, it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what ends up happening, I trust Penn to take us to the finish line. I trust how she's going to execute this. There is so much story left to explore and mysteries to solve. And I think that Byrne is my most anticipated read. Just as far as, maybe it's like recency bias too, but just like there are so many unanswered questions in this. Yeah. And it'll be amazing to continue this journey whenever the final book releases.
I'm counting down these seconds. And we do know that we as Fantasy Fangirls are getting arcs, but don't worry, we are not going to be covering Byrne until it is available to the public. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode 8, our final episode of Heat of the Everflame Deep Dive, and being on this Kindred's Curse saga journey with us.
Next Monday, September 29th, will be something we haven't done since the beginning of Fantasy Fangirls, an Ask Us Anything episode. We are so excited to talk about all these things during our deep dive break.
Then the following Monday on October 6th, we are starting our next deep dive series, which is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Yes, all of our Quicksilver episodes will include spoilers for the whole book, and we will deep dive Quicksilver in the lead up to the sequel Brimstone, and then cover Brimstone through the end of the year. We would love to give the biggest warm welcome to our newest Crowns Council members.
Thank you so much for joining, Tika and Joanne. Welcome. We appreciate you both so incredibly much. Thank you for supporting this show. We are so grateful.
Yes, and if you're like, hey, I want my name shouted out on the podcast and to be shouted with all the love and attention too, join our fan club at fantasyfangirls.com/fan club. The link is also in the show notes.
Thank you, as always, to our top Sophos scholar, aka our content researcher, Brooke, and of course, our executive producer, aka our sanity manager, Hayden. We love you both.
We are very active on social media, where you can get all the latest updates from Fantasy Fangirls, plus lots more, especially as we head into Quicksilver. So please be sure to follow us on Instagram and / TikTok at Fantasy Fangirls Pod. And if you're watching this on YouTube or want to watch on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button to keep following along.
While you're hitting buttons, don't forget to hit that 5-star rating and review button. It is so helpful, not only for this podcast, but for any podcast you listen to. And if you're feeling extra generous, write a little love note in that review section. It's like giving us a big hug. And last, but certainly not least, share this episode with your fellow Everflame friends. If you have been on this journey with them and you've fallen in love with this book just as we have, this is the perfect episode to close out the journey, at least for now.
We will see you all again soon.
See you in Zalvarin. Bye.
Let's get these kids to Pound Town.
Those darn tootin' kids.